In the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Barney's Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. The exclusive home of frontier gear built for the rugged Alaskan terrain. Your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Visit Barney's today at 906 West Northern Lights.
Arbor Digital, the forefront of digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and wealth management, providing a low-cost, research-based investment strategy for Alaskans looking to invest their hard-earned money. Visit arborcapital.io today to put your money to work.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway, Alaska's own and grown cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
The Connoisseur Lounge, Alaska's premier locally owned and operated cannabis retailer, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. Their cultivated products include Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, Super Glue, and much more. Find them at theconnoisseurlounge.net.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation, with exclusive products such as their sugar wax, full spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more. Ask your local bud tender about AKO. Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and over. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They're the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located on 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Crude Magazine, Alaska-based media outlet using the last frontier as a springboard to discover larger truths about the cultures of our great state. Read more at crudemag.com.
Lawn Pro AK, Alaska's year-round professional property maintenance team. Services include snow and ice management, weekly lawn care, and more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted Alaskan-made colonial ciders. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Stop by today and taste an award-winning cider.
Lady with a Plan, your own Alaska event planner. From scouting the perfect location to planning the tiniest details, specializing in event management and production for intimate social gatherings. Find Lady with a Plan on Instagram. Those, them boys and them kids that... Ready? Oh, it's go time. Here we go. Damn, caught me off guard, man. Usually you give me like 10 seconds.
I did. You were deep in conversation.
I was.
Happened.
Well, I was just thinking about them kids that play those games on that field, man. Like, I always wondered, do they kick any field goals because of the wind? It's just always blowing, right?
Oh, because it's right by the ocean. Well, is it faced like northeast, or how's the field faced?
It's parallel to
the ocean,
beach.
to the beach. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which way does the wind like normally blow?
Usually
probably north south, right?
I don't know. So you're asking the wrong person about I'm the worst Native person
Just,
in terms of it's like
comes
this
from the
way
ocean.
usually.
Yeah.
Back.
I think it's
Usually
off the water.
this
I think it
Yeah.
comes
I
off
mean,
the
I
water.
assumed it was north and then across.
Northeast, I think. Right? Does that mean it goes that way?
It goes towards the water or comes from the water?
Comes from the water.
From the water.
North
Okay.
going south.
Yeah, so it goes north-south.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we get a south wind, that's when it's warm. And it's a little bit unusual. So
I bet.
south.
It probably feels weird, huh?
Yeah, it's warm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like
what the
obviously.
hell? Yeah, I'm not used to that.
It's weird when it's warm. It's usually cold, yeah.
Do you get to catch many games?
So here's the thing too. It's like the year that I was a senior was the first year that they had a football team.
Right, which is pretty lean, right? There wasn't like a ton of kids.
No,
The
I
te-
mean
it's
there was a lot
grown-
of interest. There was a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And then I was, I dated the guy who scored the first touchdown.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
there you go.
Did you have your pom-poms? You're like, woo.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
No.
would have been a cool story.
Well, I don't even watch football either, so and I couldn't tell you what was happening. So
Well,
was
if
just
you, yeah, and then not to mention you probably didn't get a chance to watch much prior to that because there wasn't a whole lot going on.
not in
But-
person, that's
No.
for sure. I mean, there's a huge community. I guess there was like some kind of TV show about it on
There was.
ESPN.
I was just
There
gonna say that. There
yeah,
was a
there was
thing
a
on
piece
it.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean
I didn't
it's
watch it.
taken very seriously by the community that runs it.
Didn't they make a movie about it?
No.
No, I don't think it was a movie. Definitely like a TV.
Was it a
series.
documentary? Then?
Yeah, it was almost like a 30 for 30-ish kind of thing
Okay.
that
That's
they
what
did.
it was.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but where did they play before the beautiful blue field? Was there like a shitty
I don't think
field?
they had a team.
Never.
They didn't have a
No.
team? They just started a team with the baddest field,
Yeah.
the farthest
Alaska?
north?
Yeah.
It was called Football Town, Barrow, Alaska.
Yep.
Oh, that was the ESPN show?
Yeah, on the NFL Network.
Yeah, it was a little documentary.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too.
I watched that.
I know they had a rough go. Like it was
At the
difficult.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did not win very many games, I believe. But
Well,
I
who
mean,
did they play? Other village teams?
Ilson.
Yeah, they traveled to
like the
Fairbanks.
big boys?
Like I think the
Yeah.
nearest team was Fairbanks.
Yeah,
Wow.
so they play like Lathrop,
Okay.
Allison.
Valley,
West Valley?
West Valley. They were part of like the small school network because there's like 2 tiers.
Yeah.
And man, forgive me, listeners, if there's like shit's changed. I know that at one point there was like they were tiered out, so it was like the big schools, the East Highs, the Bartletts, the Service, the South. Then there was the small school
Yep.
bracket,
Yep.
which was like Houston,
Kenai.
Kenai,
Juneau.
Juneau.
Oh, no, Juneau.
No,
was always-
Juneau's in the big
Juneau
boys.
was always big boys.
No,
They were
I think
always
they
good.
started off and then they were so good.
Juneau
they were
was good.
dominating.
Yeah, Juneau got
They
good.
moved them up to tier 1 or whatever it's called.
But Barrow was pretty solid for like having a pretty limited like pool of players in a small
Well,
community.
it's a population thing.
But from what I understand, they like take it pretty serious as far as like the off-season training and getting the kids into it. And from the younger ages, like the junior high, as you shift into high school, it's what you want to do.
Yeah, no,
You
they
want to
loved
play
it.
ball. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from
Basketball
experience.
too, right? Basketball is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't play basketball for money in a village.
Oh, they're going to get you.
Oh, you just get mocked.
You're going to give up some money. them
Like,
them
yeah,
kids
we
can
play a
shoot,
little
dude.
here and there.
Like they don't. There's no jump shots, but they don't miss.
Yeah.
They don't miss. I played a lot of ball in villages, and it was super fun.
Yeah, they get a lot
But
of
I was
practice, huh?
Like, they'd be like, "You want to play for money?" I'm like, "Nope. I seen white men can't jump. I know hustle when I see hustle. I know exactly what's happening here.
They're over there just
I never
breaking it
hit
on
3 in a row.
Yeah. Double or nothing? That's funny. What year did I know the name changed, but there was like an official like date or year that the name changed?
I want to say it was 20. I was living here in Anchorage back. So I moved back in 2014. Oh, no, 2015. October of 2015 and then 2016 January. I think it was 2016 that they had changed it from Barrow to Utqiagvik.
Yeah, looks like maybe December. 2016.
2016? Okay, yeah.
That was like kind of part of that movement, right? Like when we got rid of Columbus Day.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was
we
about
and we changed
reclaiming-
Denali back.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Okay.
it was a part of that, I think.
Yep.
So
And
that
I
was
think
all-
it's
that
still
was all
going
around
on,
that
right?
time.
They're still changing.
Yeah.
What
Back
is
to
it?
original.
Rivers and all different kind of places names, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit contested, I know, because our village is originally Utqiagvik, which means the place of the snowy owl. But someone had come up with like an alternative, which was Utqiagvik, which means a place to lay roots. And it's like, okay, well, that's weird. I mean, we live in the northernmost city in the United States. Like, what roots are you talking about? Like, we live in permafrost, basically. Like, it's a little bit strange, but I think the concept about it, like the idea of reclaiming a place and bringing it back to the Inupiaq name is something like that overshadows like the controversy or whatever about like what you actually call it. So I was like, I fully support that, because
Was there like a vote?
yeah,
There was like a
There was
just
a-
in the village.
there was a vote, and then I think, and then another thing too was like it was maybe rushed, is what some people were saying. But I think most people can get behind the idea that I'm thinking about. Like it's it's about the idea, it's the concept. It's
Yeah.
not so much so about like
The word.
exactly what we call it.
Yeah.
It's
The
just
idea.
like returning to tradition and upholding the value of that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And how do you pronounce it again?
Utqiagvik. I know it's a little bit difficult, but it's like Utqiagvik is kind of how most people who don't usually say it pronounce it. I mean, but I like to teach people it. Utqiagvik, that's how you say it.
Utqiagvik.
So I wonder who trains the
Jackie Purcell.
the flight. I guess you can't say. Can you not say flight stewardess?
Oh, you
You
say
can
flight attendant,
but you
yeah.
can't say
Don't say
stewardess.
stewardess.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They
Okay.
changed that
Flight
too.
attendant.
Flight attendant.
You guys were talking about that on the last episode, I heard.
I think we did say something.
There's a lot of
about
things
that.
you can't say anymore.
Yeah.
One of them is stewardess.
Okay. What is there? What?
It's flight attendant.
Flight
Okay.
attendant.
But what was the problem with the steward?
I don't know.
Hey,
What's
man.
the problem with everything?
Okay. don't ask.
A lot
Just
of
let it be.
Someone-
I don't
Flight
know.
attendant.
Well, that implies that it's a woman, stewardess. And
Oh,
there's
okay.
men
Okay.
flight attendants.
Oh
as
yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
gender non-conforming or whatever.
So it was
Totally
the men that
agree.
were upset?
One man.
I'm not a stewardess.
One man was upset.
One man.
Yeah,
was upset.
American Airlines, I heard.
Oh.
No, I'm just joking.
I was like, you really know that?
Don't quote. He's like, yeah, I looked it up.
I actually had to look it up today because we got into the old man's beard
Oh.
thing, because I've been calling it that forever and ever and ever. And then you commented back, and like several other people commented back. I was like, I got to look this up. Like, let me look it up.
Yeah,
and then
that's
like
funny.
the Juneau Empire had this whole article on all the different like names that people have come up with these different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
No,
Alice?
I have no idea.
So I made a post today about like good natural fire starters. And what I've always used, or I've taught like my kids and stuff like that, is it's basically a lichen that grows off of spruce trees, and we always called it old man's beard. Mm-hmm. And
It's like moss, right? Like a mossy.
well, that's different. Well, after the article, I've learned that that's different. It's like a lichen, and then there's another one, Ania or something like that. So basically, I looked it up, and I was like, someone's got to know. So I like Googled the picture, like what's old man's beard, and he told me witch's hair, and then like angel hair came up, and so
I
basically,
wouldn't use angel hair.
but a lot
I
of
feel
people
bad
do.
lighting angel hair on fire. Just seems like you shouldn't. do
Yeah,
that.
the witch's.
Might go
Witch's
straight to
hair,
hell
you
for
can
that
burn
one.
witch's
Yes.
hair.
You
You
can
can burn
see-
old man's beard.
Yeah,
Probably shouldn't burn angel hair.
yeah.
Just seems like a bad idea.
Straight to hell you go.
So anyway, the Juneau Empire had a great article like explaining all the different like names of what people call it and the exact differences of what it is. And
What's it
I guess-
scientifically called?
It's like 5 different species.
Oh,
Or not species,
Oh, it's
I
not.
guess.
Or strain.
Flora
Strain.
and fauna. Flora.
No, I put it
Oh,
down
there
here.
it is.
It is called. I guess I should
Man,
go
it
to the
works
article.
so good too.
It does.
Is that a picture you took?
Yeah, when we were out on the moose hunt this past weekend.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's light green, sometimes it's like
Usnea.
black.
Usnea, Usnea, is like the technical, like scientific term.
Usnea?
Yeah.
USNEA.
But there's nicknames, and there's different styles and different kinds, and they look all pretty similar. There's ones from like Norway and different places that have different kind of spruce trees and black spruce and white spruce and different things like that, and they got different names. Witch's hair, angel hair, deer moss, old man's beard. It kind of all means like the same thing.
Yeah, that reminds me, like up north, there's, some racist terms that we would use to talk about different land features. And I don't even want to say it, I'm not going to say it, but, it's 2022. Like, why are we still calling it that kind of thing? Which I think only happened within my lifetime. Like there used to be like these tussocks or whatever that we, even as Inupiaq people, which is ridiculous, we used to say, what they
N-word head.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so there's been a lot of talk about that too, about like how can we, what do we say if we don't call it that then, And there was this word that we used to, so traditionally Inupiaq people used to war with neighboring tribes, which not our other Inupiaq people per se, but for, this is what I understand as an Inupiaq person, that we used to have wars with Athabaskans, the interior. And so we have a word for Athabaskans in Inupiaq that we have always called them, this certain thing, but I heard it's a derogatory term in Inupiaq. Yeah, and so there was a movement like a couple of years ago where they were trying to say, okay, well, I only know a racist term for Athabaskan people, like, can we have a meeting where we come up with a new word? Or, like language is always, evolving, right? And it's not just a stagnant thing, obviously, because we don't speak the same as like hundreds of years ago. But there was a big movement, and it's interesting, like it's cool to think that there's some kind of forward thinking. And although you want to keep some things in tradition, you also want to let some things go.
Yeah, there's a lot of awareness there, and I think as younger people, and I'll be honest, like my grandma is racist as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And probably most grandmas and grandpas are, whether it's
old school
only towards a certain other race, or a species or something like that. And it takes like the youth to be like, you shouldn't really say that. Like, that's actually my friend. And to them, it's a racial slur.
I feel like sometimes, though, like, they're not actually being racist.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, it's just something that that's just
like
how it was said.
Deep-seated.
And so they're like, they're not understanding that, like, ooh, you shouldn't say that. It's derogatory.
Yeah.
It's kind of just,
like,
it's kind of ignorant. Yeah.
That's what they know.
Yeah. So my wife's from Alabama, so
yeah,
like her grandma, just my wife's ex-husband and their kid's dad is Filipino.
Yeah,
his parents were from the Philippines. He was born here. When they got divorced, like her grandma was like, "Yeah, I knew it wouldn't work out," and Jamie was like, "Why is that, Grandma?" And she's like, "The language barrier." She's like, "He doesn't speak that. He speaks English. He was born here, but that's just like." And I don't think that she was racist against it. I think she just like
it's just an ingrained thing.
Yeah.
It's called an inherent bias. Inherent bias. And everybody experiences it. Yeah, I mean, everyone does, and it's also it's a way of compartmentalizing in your brain and making sense of the world is, you kind of put things grouped together, and it's normal, and everyone does it, and so it's kind of like part of understanding, and even in some ways it helps, to survive, really. I mean, I think that's super ingrained in who we are as human beings, but there's also a lot of unlearning that you have to do in that too. I mean, we're all responsible for, unlearning bad behaviors and things like that. So I think that's important to mention, even though it's natural, or everyone has it and that's how it is. But it's also important to like do some serious unlearning too in those kinds of things. Cause not everything is progressive and not everything is good. Right.
You gotta break the mold.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, I feel like now.
That's a great point, man, because growing up, I lived in East Anchorage. I went to Wendler, I went to Bartlett, and some of the most diverse places to go to school.
Yeah. Bartlett, right?
You know? And there's like, there was just like mixed bag, you know? And it was really, really cool time to grow up because it was kind of crazy too, because it was like, it was segregated. It not by design, not like it was back in the day. It was just natural. Like you had groups of Samoan folks that grouped together, and you had the preppy kids that were grouped together, and you had
I think segregated would like.
I mean, maybe that's probably not the right term.
Yeah, because it was like people of the same people hung out like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like...
Maybe it was more of like culturally, just like where folks gravitated to each other. It's probably the more PC thing to say. So
usually that
side... Forgive me if I like offended anybody there. I just mean like people were in separate groups.
Naturally drawn to certain groups.
Correct. But it was totally all good. And everybody was still got along pretty well. And, you know, we all split up into our classes and we're homies and then break and everybody would kind of back to their spot. And, you know, my neighborhoods that I grew up in East Anchorage, man, there was kids from all walks of life that lived in that neighborhood, man. And I had friends like from all different cultures, and it was cool. To me, it was totally normal. Yeah. But for my folks and where they grew up and how they grew up in the, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Segregated.
Big time. Yeah. And so.
Intentionally segregated.
Yeah. And so it was like, growing up, it was like, oh, it's kind of weird to hear, Uncle so-and-so say that. Or it's weird to hear, my dad's buddy say some shit over here. And it was kind of like, oh, I don't really like how that made me feel because, man, I got all these friends that are like all different shapes, colors, and sizes. And it's like, it was really, I don't want to say it's like a struggle, but it was definitely like confusing as a kid when you're trying to find yourself and like where you fit in the whole mix.
Yeah. And I think that's how that segregation
does that kind of
happens.
does that like make sense? Because like I was just like, man, there's like all these beautiful people that I'm friends with and associated with, but then I have these outside influences. I don't know if influences even right, but just these things that are like piping in where you're just kind of like, man, I don't agree with that. And that might be just back then, but now it's just different. Yeah. And
well, Alaska in general is diverse.
Yeah.
Well, we have the top 10 diverse schools. Like the school I work at is number 2 in the nation. Yeah. East is number 1. Bartlett's like number 3.
Yeah.
Mountain
East
View.
High.
All these schools are like the most diverse. Like I was actually taking notice the other day outside. I was doing recess duty and all the 5th and 4th graders. And there's 2 white kids.
Yeah.
In the entire like 4th and 5th grade. All the other kids are everything else.
Well, I grew up in Mountain View. So I went to Mountain View Elementary, and then I went to Clark, and then I went to a school in Fairbanks for like a semester, and I came back, and then I did half of 8th grade at Mears, right when Mears opened. So I went from like none of my friends were white to like there wasn't a black kid at Mears or Diamond. Like my freshman year at Diamond, there was 2 black kids. They were brothers. And they were like the whitest black kids ever. Yeah. And I was like the blackest white kid coming there because I came from Mountain View. Yeah. And like all my friends were, I mean, it was like a mixed bag for sure there. But I think I think the hood is kind of always like that. Totally. Even in big cities. But it does get segregated because, especially here in Alaska, I think like you have in Mountain View, I think you have that part of town that's like very Samoan, very Polynesian and Hispanic over here. And you get that, I think, because so many of those people are coming from somewhere else and moving here. Yeah. And so it's just natural to go to like what you know. And I think
also that's where your aunt is already here or your uncle's already here. So you're not going to move to the other side of town.
Yeah.
You're going to be close to them. So you have, resources and family around you.
Like like I felt this, like what you're saying, like where it was like this group,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like you weren't allowed in those.
Oh yeah, no, I walked
you were
through
invited
there and was
into all
like
of it.
dapping everybody everywhere I went, like bop, 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 you know?
Because I wasn't churchy. Like I didn't grow up in church. Like that's not really my thing. But I used to go to the Baptist church in Mountain View every Sunday just for the singing. Because I was like, this is unreal. Like this is like free concert. It was right by the rec center.
Yeah. It was
So like I wasn't there praying or none of that.
It had a good vibe,
But I was
right?
like,
This drummer's got the
this
hits.
is a party. Like these people are getting down. It was awesome. I loved it.
Well, one of my fondest memories in the neighborhood I grew up in, I had a house next to me that was like a rental, and it would have folks, like it had some military guys in there, and then for like 3 years we had a Alaskan Native family that moved in from Kotzebue, and they were a huge family, man. The mom, the dad, the grandparents were there, and there was like I want to say it was like 4 kids. And then they had just constantly like cousins and stuff kind of rotating through town. And it was I was a little bit too young to really understand what brought them to Anchorage. I think it was like a job change from the mom and dad. But what was so cool, because they were so hospitable. Like they had us in. We were right next door, so we played and football, basketball. I mean, we just like those kids, man. We just like played. And they were always so like, come spend the night, watch movies. Like, man, I tried like some of the craziest foods that I would never think I'd try. Like they introduced me to peanut butter on pancakes. Like, I mean, it was like, there's just things that like, I'll never forget. And man, it was just like the cultural family togetherness of that group is something I'll never forget. And that's what I probably like remember the most from the neighborhood, was that the love was so strong, man. Like it was just like, damn, these folks are bonded.
I'm super glad that I grew up in the hood, because I thought it was more like it feels more community than like, I live in Bayshore now. Like I know one neighbor, but I don't know him well. We say hi,
Yeah.
It's like that. It's not like, I mean, I invite him over for barbecue stuff. He invites me over. We might go, but it's not like when I lived in Mountain View, you were like, it was like,
you knew people like blocks down the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You were going to dinner. I mean, there was so many times I come home for dinner and my mom would be like, what do you mean you're not hungry? Oh, I ate at so-and-so's house.
Yeah.
It's like the auntie like shoved the food down my throat. I couldn't say no.
And it was like that. It was like that, where you weren't allowed to say no.
No.
They're like, are you hungry? But they already have the plate. Like,
all the time I'd be over there and they're like, it's time to eat. I'm like, my mom's probably got dinner, but clearly this is what you're supposed to do when you're here, is eat right now.
You don't want to say no.
No. I learned real fast, because like I was kind of like, oh, respectfully decline, and then the big brother was like, he pulled me aside, like, yo, man, we don't. No.
You don't say no.
Like at least like fake it. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. Like,
and I definitely ate some stuff that I probably would have never experienced if you hadn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. I'm like, I didn't think of it. I think I took it for granted then, because it was just normal. But now looking back on it, you know, I live in South Anchorage, which is my neighborhood's actually diverse. It's actually got like crazy mixed.
Well, now it has.
It's changed
like
20, 30 years later, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh man, I look back on it, I'm like, man, I learned a lot of really cool values of life and friendship and relationships, and just a different social dynamic back then that I think propelled me into adulthood and how I deal with people, and being more open-minded to, what's maybe different in some people's mind, and they're a little bit, and maybe they're afraid of that. You can't say that.
Canceled.
Yeah,
Canceled.
done. You're done,
Yeah.
Brandon.
All
Open
right.
seat, guys.
Done deal.
Welcome to Alaska Wild Project, episode 83.
Here we go.
We have in the house with us Alice Qannik Glenn. Alice is an Inupiaq, born and raised in Utqiagvik. I hope I said that right, Alaska. She's
close,
the host of the Coffee and Quaq podcast. There is many accolades, and she is recently the special advisor to the president of AFN. Is that the right word?
Special assistant.
Special advisor sounds more official.
It does.
Yeah, you're the advisor now.
Yeah.
Advisor /
Promotion.
assistant. Yeah.
Pays the same, but your business card just changed.
Yeah. In 2021, she was nominated by the Pulitzer Center for the Robert F. Kennedy Journalism Award in Radio and earned a first-place Columbia Journalism Reviews Covering Climate Now Award for the special Coffee and Quaq series, AK Natives on the Front Line. And I'm interested in Native time.
Ooh, yes.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
Please explain what that is.
First off, real quick, congrats to all that, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
badass.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
I was checking out your bio the other day, and I'm like, whoa,
Dude.
I better go get a haircut. Like, I need to get my shit straight. Like,
Yeah, you thought you were nervous?
damn.
No,
we better bring Chad
I
up in
recently sent my bio to like this event that I was going to attend, and I impressed myself with my bio. I was like, "Damn, girl, all right,
like
you did that, you did that." Oh,
You
but
should be.
No, I mean it's
Do
been
you guys
good
have a bio?
2 years.
No.
I don't know.
I have a beard.
My bio would be like height, weight, eye color,
He likes the color blue.
long walks on the beach.
Bird watching. Go, Alice. Go. We interrupted you. Go.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, So Native Time. Native Time is a really dope collaboration that it really just started with me and my friend Jacqui Lambert from Kotzebue. We were working normal jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, but we used to hang out once a week, every Wednesday after work, and just kind of like dreamed up like what do we want to do with our time? If we didn't have to do a 9 to 5, like what do we like dream of doing? And it ended up being like this kind of media organization where, Jacqui has her own specific skills. And then we met our friend Howdis Brown III, who's a videographer, film dude, who's, amazing. And then
Alice, real
myself,
quick, what's your girlfriend's name again?
Jacqui with a Q. Jacqui Lambert from Kotzebue.
Okay.
And she goes by Jacqui with a Q on Instagram. And she's kind of Alaska famous, at least Alaska Native famous. She does like a bunch of astrology.
Oh, I see.
stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a picture of her. Okay,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
She was in I think she was in the Biden video when he won, which it was like super top secret. If he lost, they wouldn't have aired it, type of thing.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. She's just all over the place. You know what I mean? And she's a huge language revitalization advocate. She does a lot of Inupiaq immersion stuff. And then she created our website. If you want to check it out, at nativetime.com. It's nativetimea.com, I think. I don't know. Something like that. But anyway, so we were just like, what do we want to do? And like, what would be our mission? And so we ended up just like totally envisioning what we would do. And Howdis would be the film guy. Jacqui would be, storytelling and graphic design and web design. And I can just be like, the audio podcast arm. And so we're like, we're tired of these stories, these fake, sensationalized images, depictions of Alaska Native people on TV, in mass media. If we could redo it, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And what would it feel like? And so we kind of just hung out and we just like planned it all out. And then we met Howdy at an event that I was speaking at just about the podcast. I had like maybe 3 episodes, and it was like a culture shift. It was called Culture Shift, and it was hosted by the Humanities Forum at ABC Anchorage Brewing Company. And that's where we met Howdy, and I was like, dude, Jacqui, I don't know if you know Howdy. And she was like, oh, I've heard of him. But I didn't want to like just bring him onto the team without consulting her first. And so we just kind of like, it just all clicked. We had our first meeting one night and we were just like, oh my God, let's do this. We were just like juices. We're just, like flowing. We were like, let's do it. And we just started like pretending that we were real until we became real. You know what I mean?
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. And
That's awesome. Real.
We scored a couple of projects, and yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit on, I don't want to say on hold, but like Howdy just had a baby recently, so it's been a little bit more so me and Jacqui kind of doing most of the heavy lifting on certain projects and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we're still very much alive. We kind of came out in June of 2020 during the pandemic. We're just like, let's
Super
announce
tough.
that we exist. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, it's so fun. And I like, our motto is do dope shit. Like all we want to do is like tell cool stories, like tell the real, you know, it doesn't have to be sensationalized to be cool. You know what I mean? And so we're
Not
just,
at all.
yeah, I mean, like that's our goal, is to just do dope shit and tell the real
DDS?
story. Yeah, basically.
And that's a dope shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
No, we have Howdy's created like some really cool videos that we have like in our intro. Like we have some artist from Greenland. His name is Akalu. And he's a Greenlandic Inuit, and he has like this really cool like house music. He calls it igloo music instead of like house music. And so we asked him if we could, you know, use some of his tracks for like our videos and stuff, and he's totally down. And yeah, it's so fun. Right now I mean, like we're all over the place. We do like some media workshops where we help kids like figure out what they want to do. Like, you know, do you want to create videos? Do you want to create podcasts? Do you want to do social media? You know, we all have like different skills that we bring to the table. So we're able to do media workshops. Our most recent project was with the Humanities Forum called Village City. And it was basically about connecting urban and rural youth and kind of talking to them about identity. So in what ways are urban Native kids similar or different from rural Native kids? And like, are there similarities? And, you know, because all three of us, well, he grew up in the valley, but like we all, you know, we're all from rural areas. Like I grew up in Barrow or Utqiagvik, and Jacqui grew up in Kotzebue or Qannik. And so how do those values translate from growing up in a small rural community to living here now in Anchorage, you know, and what ways do those values show up? And how do we celebrate that and move those values forward in our culture and in our lives? So, I mean, like that's basically what Native Time is. And the biggest thing with that, for me, at least personally, and I think it feels pretty solid to say for Jacqui and Howdy too, is that we don't want to explain anymore. Like we're tired of having to like go through that process of re-explaining history. Like there's fucking books, there's articles, you can Google search things. Like we're not there anymore. We're trying to think about the future. Like we're not doing that added work. It's kind of stifling creatively when you have to always explain and translate and like have to tell about the past and all this stuff, you know. And that's okay, there's a time and place for those kinds of things, but like for us in Native time space, we want to just move forward and just be like, do dope shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you
That's
feel there's
rad.
a lot of dwelling in the past in your guys' culture?
Oh yeah. Well, not in our culture, but the way that people perceive us and experience. I think Alaskan Native people, it's always very romanticized in this like, oh, the traditional way of being, and like, oh, this is how it used to be, and this is like what got people, you know, through thousands of years of X, Y, and Z, like whatever thing you want to say. Like it's like I've heard it all before, and it's just kind of annoying. You know what I mean? And it even like fucks up your own perception of like who you could be as a person. Is like, okay, if I'm always seen as this like past tense kind of person, or like this is what it used to be like.
Can never progress.
You're like tied to that,
Yeah.
and you can't like cut loose and just become what you can become.
It's heavy, you know, and it's stifling, like I said, and it's a lot of work, I think. And so if we're always envisioning ourselves even in the past, then like that can have a lot of effect on who we see ourselves, you know, today and into the future. Like it's almost, I mean, so this is what was a big focus for our Alaska Natives on the Front Line of Climate Change project. And that was because there was a focus that, Alaska Native people are like, people who are on the coast, they're all going to be wiped out by 2050 or whatever because of climate change. Like there's all this like sensationalized, media and coverage about what's going to happen to, and then they say like climate refugees and those things are real. And I get that. But
climate refugees, I never even heard that word.
Yeah.
But you're kind of being used as like a political pawn in a lot of that.
Exactly. And, and they never once asked like people who actually live there what they think or how they feel. You know what I mean?
And the people
how it's really going.
The people who are like the experts probably have never even been there.
Right.
Yeah. They've never set foot on any of these places.
That's a frustrating thing just as an Alaskan in general, not even a native Alaskan, just like an Alaskan in general. Like we're always kind of put in this compartmentalized thing of like that we're different. Yeah. And like, and that we're dealing with it more than it's like, well, not really. I mean, yeah, I guess, but.
Or like victims of circumstance, and if you're going to claim like that victim mentality, like that doesn't help anyone.
No one.
You know what I mean? So that's what
Crimea River, right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying like there's like, let's not talk about the, the crazy things that are happening. It's just
it's good to recognize it.
I think that I don't like, if I was going to explain this to my little sister who's Gen Z, like I don't want her to view herself as a victim. You rob her of her empowerment, her sovereignty, her decision making, and that I don't want that for her. I don't want that for myself. No. I don't want that for anyone. So how am I going to reframe this conversation in a way that empowers her to make good decisions and to have influence and to be present and to show up to things? You know what I mean? Like that's what is important to me. It's not about us living in this moment right now. It's, about like the next generation and figuring out how to make them feel good about where they are and where they want to be. And so that was a big part of that project. It was like, we're not victims, and I don't consider myself a victim. Although some of these things are very real, right? And there's not a whole lot happening about it. I don't want to say like, we're going to be gone. Like, no, so a big question for that project was like, what kinds of things have changed? Yes, of course. But then, in terms of climate change or whatever, but what kinds of things have remained the same? And I think that was a big focus of that project because nobody was viewing it that way. Everyone's like, this is what's happening everywhere in the world. And this is crazy. And we're all going to die. And the world's on fire, the sky's falling. Yeah. So,
well, it's like they're making the only solution is like, we have to reverse it instead of like, you're not going to do that. So I don't even know why we're discussing that or why they're trying to discuss. That's the narrative. Like, why are we not like, let's pivot. That's what you do in any hardship, right?
Yeah.
Anything you face in your life that's a hardship, you pivot. You can't reverse it. If you lose your leg, it ain't going to grow back. So you're going to pivot from like, how do I move forward from this? And that's like a lot of people, like, even when you are a victim of anything, if you stay in that victim space, like that's
you never grow
that's
or move
jail.
Forward.
That's jail. That's all. It's solitary confinement.
I think it's about truth. Like, let's talk about what's true, right? And what's happening now. How can we recognize where we are today to make better decisions into the future? As long as we're telling the truth, of what's happening, then we're better equipped to make decisions now and into the future. And I think that is it's important. And, sometimes the truth is really hard and sometimes it's not newsworthy media or like buzzwords or crazy, crazy things like that. And so, what do people pay attention to and what's really real? You know what I mean? And I think that that's important.
I'm going to pivot to the inception of Coffee and Quaq, which is an excellent podcast. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's on Apple. We're trying to convince her to do a video version. Coffee and Quaq. What does quaq mean?
Quaq is the Inupiaq word for frozen or raw meat or fish. So I use coffee to kind of represent keeping us woke, and then quaq to represent examining our topics through an Alaska Native lens. I know woke has a different connotation now. I mean, in 2022, and it's not always great. But like it was cool at the time, and I was just kind of going for it. And it's basically just about bringing us, awareness, basically, And so, Coffee and Quaq is a podcast to celebrate and explore contemporary Native life in urban Alaska in all its complexities and all its different, experiences and colors. And it really started because I remember listening to the radio one morning before I was going to work, and they were just like talking about who Justin Bieber was dating. And I was like, I don't give a fuck who Justin Bieber is dating. I'm, how old was I? I think I was like, I'm 28.
My life.
Yeah. I'm 28. I'm Inupiaq. I'm going to work. Like, I don't care. I want to listen to something that I care about and I'm interested in. And at the time, my partner was listening to a lot of Joe Rogan, and he would kind of fill me in on like what was, who he was interviewing, what he learned from a podcast episode. I'm like, how dope would it be if we could do that, but like have an Alaska Native like angle and like to really talk and educate each other, because like the more the better we all are, right? And not just Inupiaq people, but everyone. And so I kind of just wanted to explore that. And I was so inspired by, I had started it when I moved back from college. So I graduated in 2014 from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with a Bachelor's of Science in Aerospace Studies. I know it's a mouthful.
Damn.
I know. And
what got you into that?
yeah.
Just rabbit hole for
Okay.
a second. Just
yeah. I wanted to be an astronaut for sure. When I grew up in Utqiagvik, an astronaut came to visit my village when I was like, I feel like I was 10 years old, maybe, or 12 years old. His name was Harrison Schmitt. He was a geologist, and he studied the geology of the moon. And he came and he spoke to our village, and I was like, dang man, if this guy can do it, I feel like I can do it. I can be whatever I want. And I was like, I want to be an astronaut. And so I was just kind of figuring that out, and I went to I started school at Embry-Riddle in Arizona, and then I transferred from the sister campus in Arizona to Florida after I had an internship at the Kennedy Space Center one summer. It was fucking dope, yeah. And so from that moment, like when I was like 19 years old, I had like 6 more internships there, 5 more at the Kennedy Space Center, and then 1 at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
Florida?
Yeah.
At
Cape Canaveral.
Super boring if you're not into it.
I mean,
for me, like I got forced to go do this thing. I'm like, oh God, we're gonna go see. Is there a spaceship gonna go up? Oh, there's not. Oh, okay.
Oh no, you didn't get to see a launch.
I didn't get to see shit.
Dude, the launches were the best.
No, there was no launching. There was no launching. It was like 8 hours in a car on the straight road to a building.
It was like a camp or something?
I don't know what it was, but I remember going and just being like, this is not Disney World or Disneyland
This is not
or
the
Busch
business.
Gardens or none of this
no
stuff.
rockets.
Like my parents wanted to go, and I'm just like in the car, and I got to go to the thing because my dad wants to go.
You're like, NASA's not that cool.
man.
Yeah, I want to go on the roller coasters.
Dude, no, I thought it was going to be like all space age type stuff. Like if you think you're going to the Kennedy Space Center, you think like the doors are going to be like, or like it's going to be like so it's stuck in the fucking 60s and 70s probably still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the coolest thing about that is obviously the launches. So I'm sorry you didn't get to see a launch, but that was the dopest thing. I got to see 3 shuttle launches and then 1 shuttle landing, and that was so cool.
That was in Houston.
No, I was in Cape Canaveral.
Oh.
You is more astronaut focused. It's
okay.
It's the
I don't really know.
Neutral buoyancy lab and like, yeah.
You mentioned radio, and we had talked before we started recording on like that you said your dad had a really huge antenna, and I know just in general in rural areas, radio is huge. The weather, the shows.
VHS you're talking about.
CB radio.
CB, yeah.
Well, just in general, like that type of communication, whether it's weather or, just between families or
tons of
people.
talk.
Yeah, different things like that. So explain to us, like, about your dad's putting up this huge thing, and that must have just sparked your mind as a child to lead you to where you're at now. I
don't know. I never thought about it that way, but I guess you're right. Yeah. I mean, this is how we communicated with one another in the village. It's basically, I wasn't always interested in like contacting. So he had a huge antenna at the top of our house, and you can reach so many people. He was so proud of it, and he was, so excited.
Would he be like, this goes all the way to Sitka?
Yeah, exactly. Like he was all about it.
This is 7,000 watts.
Yeah. And then like when it got windy and stuff, he would all like be watching it like a dog, like to make sure that it doesn't fall down and it's not like bending.
He's got the cables all pulled tight.
So I mean, it meant business, you know what I mean? But what I really loved,
pride and joy.
Yeah. And then everyone has these in their house, the VHF radio, and so what I just loved about it is that it was in everyone's home, and then people just kind of used it for normal mundane things, not just camping, not just whaling. I mean, obviously we would use the CB radio when people would like a crew would catch a whale. And then they would use these radios to summon other crews to help with, towing and things like that, and make sure that everything's safe and all that kind of stuff. So it was a form of communication in, vital times like that. But it was also just kind of like bullshit too. Like you're just reaching out to, even if it's just your neighbor, you're just like, good afternoon from our home base was Savik 2 base, because my dad's Inupiaq name is Savik, and he was named after Savik 1, and so he called himself Savik 2. And so it was always so funny to me. And then like sometimes you have these people that like get on the radio and are just like ridiculous and just want to talk, and and then sometimes you have people that are like inebriated, drunk and shit, and they'll just be like talking shit.
You just turn it down like, oh shit. Fucking Bob's at it again.
Yep. Just had a couple of beers.
Somebody
Everyone's
take his
listening.
radio. Somebody take his radio.
Hey, turn your mic off, bud.
Yeah.
Hot mic.
Well, that's the funny thing, because you can't you could turn your own radio off, but there ain't no going over it. So whoever's speaking at the time, everyone's listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to the tagline, right? For your show, which is
radio check anybody copy, and it's basically just it's really just are you there, God? It's me, Alice. It's like, is anyone out there? And if you are, then say what's up, and that's what I really loved about it is, that you can just, it's just like another form of community. You know what I mean? You're just talking to people.
Yeah.
It's almost like the internet before the internet, but with less features.
Before the cell phone.
It's cool. Well, it's cooler than the phone, because a phone, you're calling a specific person.
Right.
Yeah.
And they either answer or they don't. You're just asking for anyone.
Yeah. Like everybody's listening.
That's what was cool about. I mean, I remember CB radio.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like high
like
school.
in
You
my dad had one
had
like
that
in
in your truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
that
hey,
was the
anyone
coolest.
out there?
Yeah, he's like trying to talk to the truckers. They're like,
Yeah,
move out of the way.
totally. Yeah, any coppers up there? Smokies out there on the road?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Did they ever? Was there anyone who kind of bogarted the airwaves and like decided like, I want to sing this song, or I created this, I want to tell this story, or was that like not PC, like not allowed?
I mean, obviously people would. It was kind of funny and annoying when people get on the radio, like, and being obnoxious and things like that. And then also kids used to just play on the radio too.
Yeah.
Just like
Parents
start
are
talking
out
about- Yeah. Or like, someone would be like, even like mothers would like summon their kids. They're like, if you see so-and-so running around, like, tell them to come home. It's time to come home. It's whatever o'clock,
Mom
like
calling kids out.
I mean, it's a whole thing, and
Connects everyone.
It's awesome.
it does. It does. And sometimes it's ridiculous, but then, you get scolded, and then some people would stop. Sometimes, I think they used to just kind of press the button a lot if someone's like on a long rampage.
It's like the music playing
Cutting 'em
at
off.
some of the shows.
Yeah.
You're done. Was there another area or culture or in the United States where that is prevalent? Or like that radio was like the main communication? I mean, especially now, is that still a thing now?
Yes, definitely.
Even though with
Still.
phones and internet and GCI and everyone has all these ways of Zoom
miss
and all
it.
that
Well,
stuff.
yeah, what's on the public radio? Is it not Tundra Talk? Is it
No.
What's the thing where you can like leave messages? Caribou? Is it the caribou? What is that called?
No, Tundra Talk is a podcast with
You're right.
with what's his name?
There was a thing on public radio.
Yes, where you could leave messages
Yeah.
and let people know. Yeah,
Like, hey, I'm okay, or hey, we
and
can't get
announce to
out.
everybody.
Yeah, Nate. So Nate was in Nebezna when September 11th happened.
yeah.
He was out in a cabin. You couldn't fly.
I think that's actual radio show,
Yeah, it's
That would do that.
I forget what it's called.
but like a show,
public
like
service.
a
It was
89 point something versus like the VHF style. That's
Yeah,
just
this
like
wasn't like house to
program.
house. This was a radio show, but I know that was big in rural community. Like that was the only way you could communicate.
yeah.
So you would leave messages, and then like that time during the day, like, oh, it's 7 o'clock. Got to listen. Maybe there's something for me, and it would be a message. That's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they still do like birthday program where like you can call in and
Yeah.
say like, I'd like to say happy birthday to so and so, happy birthday, and they're like, hang on, and they hand the phone to somebody else, and like there's that's for sure, and that's regular radio.
Yeah, that's the Delilah. That Delilah hit.
Is that Alaska Public Media?
Hey there, Delilah, what's it like in New York?
maybe.
No, Alaska Public Media. That's different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Nate.
That's
Yeah,
different.
I mean, that I know. I was just throwing it out there. Well, so Alice, we were originally talking before aerospace, aeronautics, or whatever that. Bro, my mind was like, my shit was like a launch on my head. You were listening to the radio. You're on your way to work. You got back from college. So I think we were like leaning toward the inspiration
Right.
of the start of your awesome podcast.
Yeah.
So I was just going to circle back on that. Is that cool, Dan? You good with it?
Yeah.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah, let's
we
do that.
we rabbit hole a lot. Here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No,
A
that's
kid got
totally
on the radio for a little.
And
bit.
I usually am the one that like spins off out of control. So I was like, I'm going to bring it back.
You're bringing
I'm
it
gonna
back.
it back.
Well, what year did it start?
I want
Let's
to
go there.
know. I want to know.
Actually, I want to know before, because as someone becomes, it creates an idea, and I like to know like what were some of like the shitty names you came up with before, like you came up with Coffee and Quaq, and like what sparked the idea as well, and what were some of the like the steps leading up to it actually becoming what it is.
Yeah. So when I was away at school, I didn't really fully recognize or realize how much of a culture shock that I had leaving a place like Utqiagvik to like, Podunk, Arizona, or, Florida later on, Daytona Beach, Florida. And so,
Oh, sick.
yeah, I had no idea what like that was going to be like. I had never even, in Utqiagvik, we don't even like have liquor stores or anything like that. And so when we were like trying to throw down to like buy booze, as an 18-year-old, I was like throwing down $20. They're like, why are you giving $20? Like that could buy the whole bottle, Alice, or like that could buy the whole, pack or whatever. And I was like, well, when you're in the village, this is the way it is. Like, we get a bootleg
Expensive.
ass bottle, and that's $100.
There's a little markup on that shit.
Yeah.
There's no drink specials.
No
you
happy hour up in here.
R&R special, and it's the grossest.
Where in Arizona is that school?
So Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University is in Prescott, Arizona, which is
okay.
about 2 hours
Yeah,
north.
Prescott.
Yeah.
It's up in the hills,
But
isn't
small.
it?
Near
Yeah.
Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whiskey Row.
Yes. Everybody's hometown is what they say.
It's a cool place. It's super cool.
Yeah, my
It's
dad
really
loves it.
cool. Yeah, it's beautiful too. And I felt so, it was the perfect place, I think, for me to kind of stepping stone into the world, is because it was so small.
Yeah, because Phoenix would have been serious
Yeah.
culture shock.
Oh, so it was like a nice, like stepping
good
stone
step.
into it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, totally. But it still, was totally different for me. At that point, I had never even been to the movies by myself before, right? Because we don't even have a theater in Utqiagvik. And so I was like, whoa, this is wild. But I realized like it kind of made me jaded or like angry at how much I had to keep explaining myself and explaining to people where I was from and what I ate and like who I am as a person and what kind of values we have.
Oh, because they always had so many questions.
Always. Yeah.
Probably exhausting.
Totally. Yeah, it was totally exhausting. And
Go to a party and it's like everybody's asking the same fucking thing over and over and over again.
yeah.
I
It was
couldn't even
frustrating.
imagine what it was like for you, because I can tell you, I lived in Arizona for a bit, and
Everybody thought you grew up in an igloo.
Worse than that. Like I figured out how horrible the U.S. education system is because there was people that I knew who were like juniors in college at ASU that were like, oh man, like they'd be like, what was it like to grow up on an island? I'm like, not from Kodiak. Like, yeah, but Alaska's an island. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not actually next to Hawaii like it is on your news.
Yeah.
Like,
tell me how there's polar bears and shit there.
Have you ever noticed how the one side is like a perfectly straight line? Yeah. God didn't create that. Like, that's a border with Canada.
Yeah. But again, it's not an island.
But yeah, silly questions like that. Like, and I mean, you just feed into it and you're like, yeah. You know, sometimes you have to take the dog sled to school.
It's fun, yeah.
But it's. I couldn't even imagine what it was like for you.
No, I mean, it was fun in some ways, but I ended up learning how to have like a short answer for someone who just doesn't give a fuck and they're just like, you know, poking fun or whatever. And then someone who's really interested.
Oh, you could kind of pick up on that?
Yeah. It was like, okay, well, this person just, you know, wants to have a party gag or whatever. Like, okay. And then this person is actually really interested and like
genuinely wants to know,
learn more. Right. And so it was just like, okay, I got that. And then, I don't know why I was like angry about it. I was just, it was tiring and I didn't understand why it was so frustrating for me until I moved back. And then, so when I moved back to Anchorage, I was like, whoa, like, this is amazing. You know, I feel like my real true self, like, I don't have to like, you know, have some kind of weird shell of a person. And, you know, like it really filled a part of like my heart and my soul that I feel like I was missing the whole time I was gone, which I didn't know I was missing. But I mean, it's obvious now because I was like so angry and just like, you know, tired of explaining myself all the time.
Yeah.
When you moved back, did you move back to Barrow?
No, I just moved back here.
To Anchorage?
Yeah. And so I was still like...
Nice in between, like coming back to like more urban setting from an urban setting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was easier, especially like I don't think I would have been able to do the 24-hour darkness in Utqiagvik, like, you know,
after being in Arizona.
After being in Florida. No, after being in Florida, I was like, holy cow. Because I went home for one Christmas and I was like, damn, this is what people are talking about. Like, you grow up with it, you don't really notice it. Yeah. And
was there things, when you came back, was there things that you started noticing about Alaska that you...
Yes.
That are like what tourists notice that you didn't notice as a kid because that's how I felt when I moved back. Like I was like, oh my God, you can see Denali from Anchorage.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember looking at that my whole childhood, even though it was there.
It was just in the background
every sunny day, and then seeing it when I moved back was like, that's Denali.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
you appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
I was the
much
tourist
more,
now for sure. And there was a ton of that and the people, because that's what frustrated me the most about Arizona too, was I was like, these people have no soul at all. Like they don't, like they don't have, like they're just going through life. Like they don't I don't know. I just felt like people just like didn't have a connection to things like the people have here.
That's well said. That's probably like
they just want to be something that they don't even really know what that thing is. They just see someone else has it. You know, it's like what I worry about with like kids today and how everything is like social media and reality television. So everyone wants to be a Kardashian. And it's like everyone can't be that.
Yeah.
Right.
And you probably can't, like a special person can handle that. Not a lot of people can. You gotta be built for that.
Sure.
So you probably don't even want it. But that's how I felt about people there. Like there's so much more of a connection here.
Yeah.
With like just the planet. I don't know. People and
culture too. I mean, we just appreciate it differently.
Like we have a lot of weirdos. But I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's unique in
the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
Yeah, like I felt like in that, like when you go out to a bar and around ASU, it was like you felt like you're at an Abercrombie store. You're like everyone is like wearing the same. It's like clones. It was weird. It was like a movie, and you're like, it wasn't the diversity that like I experienced.
What you're used to.
Yeah. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So Alice, you moved back to Anchorage,
Yeah.
you found maybe a new appreciation for, in a sense, what
Yes. Oh, I was
came from
feeling inspired. I was feeling inspired again. You know, I kind of felt like I had a little fire lit back inside of me, and I was feeling inspired by people that I was meeting and connecting with, reconnecting with, basically. Reconnecting with people, reconnecting with culture, reconnecting with language, food, all of it, and family even. And so I'm almost like relearning what it was like to be in Alaska, but from an outsider's point of view, but also a person who's grown up here my whole life as well. So, I mean, I was just like, wow, you know, I was leaving these conversations with people like, I wish I would have like recorded that somehow, or like had it some way that I could always access it in, you know, some like put it in my back pocket and share it with someone else kind of thing. And it was really like that. I was just so inspired by meeting people at the bar, meeting people at home, meeting people, you know, at my sister's Christmas party, you know, like those kinds of things, like basically all of that. And that's kind of where I guess the inception of Coffee and Quaq came to be. And back to what you were saying about like how people are, I totally agree with that. Like I used to go to church. I'm not a spiritual, I feel like I'm a spiritual person now, but I wasn't religious. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I would just go to church just to experience and hang out with elders and kids, because you don't get that at school. Number one, and I'm sure not out at like, you know, whatever. What do they call that place in Phoenix, like downtown, where like it's like college central? I don't know.
The Bermuda Triangle.
I forgot. Yeah,
like Mill Avenue.
Yeah,
area?
you know, like that area, like ASU and shit like that. Like it's obvious. I was missing that part of life so much more, and the only way that I was able to fill it was by going to a community church, just to hang out and like nudge against elders, older people, and not even like I wouldn't even like talk that much to them. I just wanted to be around them. You know what I mean?
To be around people who are having actual conversations instead of just like filler.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And
they were connected too, right?
Yeah, connected to that place. Time and place, really.
It's like they keep coming back to the same thing, having the same conversations, the same stories. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the connection's what is the draw.
Yeah, totally.
Because like, you probably feel now like when people are asking, like when you were annoyed and like angry, like do you feel like you wish you could go back and redo those, because now you could really tell? Like I feel like you kind of got like, I got tired of like being the Alaskan, because it was like everyone wanted to ask you the silly questions, but then now like.
It's like a gimmick.
Like you know how I am as like a person. Like I want to show everyone this, because this is like so important to me, Alaska, and it means so much. And I know like how big of a deal it is. I know how special this place is, and I didn't know that growing up. Like when I was like high school time, like I just wanted out of here.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I wanted out of here. I was like, I'm over this.
See the world.
It's too small. Know everyone. I want out. And then now I'm like, I'm never leaving. Like I don't want out. Like I would like to travel,
sure,
and see everything, but this place is home.
And also, like what was really weird to me too is that people didn't invest in people. Like you were just some nobody, and nobody gave a fuck about you. Like it was so weird and transient the way that people would meet, you know, and like
no one leans in.
Yeah, they would like be friends and like just bump, you know, like and then separate, and like and that's normal. But like in a place like Utqiagvik, like my hometown, you know, shit happens, you know, right? And I'm thinking specifically, like I remember I was dating this guy. He cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend, and me and her still had to see one another in the village every single day almost. You know what I mean? And it teaches you some kind of humility to be like, okay, well, am I going to make this a problem every time I see her? Or am I just going to like swallow it and, you know, for the better of the community, for everyone.
For greater good.
To just like chill the fuck out and not really,
let it
you know,
be.
Yeah. And it teaches you something, I think, in that way. And that you can't just throw people away, and you can't just like, oh, I'm never going to speak to this person again, even if like it's, you're heartbroken and like they've done some really terrible things, or you feel they're terrible things to you, like you still have to figure out some way to live with one another. And so the way that I made friends, it was weird to me because I was so disposable to my friends that I met like from California and Arizona, and I was like shocked. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I really thought like you were my friend, not just like a party friend or whatever. And that was strange to me. And I remember in one of my podcast episodes with Jacqui, it was Eskimo versus Inuit, and we were kind of exploring this idea of like, is Eskimo a derogatory term, and who says it and why, and like, is that our word that we say for ourselves, kind of thing. She spoke about a story, and I don't want to take it from her or whatever, and I don't like have permission to share it, but like she talks a little bit about that and like how social capital is like really important, it's so important in our villages and the way that we grew up in Alaska, because you rely on one another basically, and you have to figure out a way to live together. If you're not going to like go out and kill this person, you know what I mean? You have to figure out how to live.
Yeah,
How to move
adapt.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Conform and figure
Well,
it
you
out.
have to be valuable in some way. So you have to like let those things go, because everyone has to have some sort of value in a small community like that.
right.
Like you have to be bringing something to the table.
Well, isn't it just bring inner peace too? To not
Yeah, it's better.
have
Like,
that, like
I mean, you just said
animosity
like
and-
like when you said, I
I
felt
mean, what
like,
are you gonna do? Fight the bitch every time you see her?
yeah.
You know, It's-
Like,
but you were saying like
Knuckles are still bloody. Like
every
I need to heal 'em.
every time.
Just giving a stink eye. Like,
But you were saying
Damn
how you needed to do that. You like, okay, I needed to make this decision and do the right thing for the better of the community. But in reality, like, being more grown up now, like, it's also better for you.
Yeah, that's true.
100 times better.
Lifts
for
the
you.
weight off your
Like
shoulders. doesn't it?
forgiveness is never for the other person.
Right.
It's always for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Because that's like heavy. Negative is like so heavy.
Yeah.
Negative shit weighs a lot more than positive shit.
Oh man.
Like, it's so much harder to carry.
And some people
Even
just
if you
don't
think
get
you can
that.
carry it, you can't carry it.
No, it's heavy.
No,
It's like gold.
Some
Yeah.
people think like they can, just have a person in your life and then just like X them out. And that's so strange.
Yeah, write
to
them
me.
off.
That is a totally weird, like outlandish thing that I've never experienced in Utqiagvik, because you always have to see that person no matter where you are at, and even if you don't want to, you got to be prepared. It's going to happen.
You're gonna run into each other.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
And
Birthday party or
it's strange
wedding
to
or-
me that
yeah.
people are so disposable like that for one another in other places, because that's just, it was just something that I struggled with at school for sure. And I was like, damn, like I thought you were really my friend. And you almost seem like a weird creepo, like, I don't know, just somebody that,
like you were clingy or something.
Yeah, and I was just like, no, this is just how friendships are like at home.
Yeah. No,
you
you
know?
just-
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
how we
different.
roll.
Yeah, you're not
like-
being weird. You just gave a shit. That's all.
Yeah.
Just gave a shit.
Yeah, you invested a little bit more than them, and
Yeah.
that's how you are, and they aren't.
Yeah, and then at the time, I didn't even know. Like, it was just something that I figured out. And I'm not trying to do it, like, for the greater community. That was just for my friend group, you know what I mean? But it does apply, and, like,
Oh,
that, those
definitely.
things apply to bigger situations like that. But, yeah, so, when I got back and I was kind of running into people and having, like, these really great conversations about different things, about language revitalization, about climate change, about, how, like, cultural values are in different places, and how even I didn't even know all about Alaska Native community. There's so many different people, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
so many different languages, and I still had a lot of learning to do here. And you just kind of want to make it a better place, you know what I mean? Like, I was shocked that I expected there not to be any Alaska Native representation in a place like Arizona and a place like Florida, but I did not expect it to be in a place like Alaska, my home state. I was like, wow, what the fuck? Like, there's nothing out there for Native kids to really see the real stories about who we really are, because I would read the news every single day and it would always just be like some crazy stuff, like ridiculous, like, you know, kind of defining Inupiaq people or Alaska Native people by like disparities and things that we're struggling with, when all communities struggle with those kinds of things. But like it's for some reason it's focused on for Alaska Native people. And I was like, dude, this is not what I see. This is not what I grew up with. This is not what I see today. How can I make it more reflective of what I know and understand to be real? You know, and so that was like the hugest push for me. It was just like, let's show and share dope stories and like interesting things and like things that aren't there that make people say, you know, and like rethink things. And so that was the biggest push. It was just like, there's so much to know. And every single podcast episode that that I record and do or whatever, like I learned so much, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you guys know that because you guys do
research and the conversation and then afterwards and the connections, right?
Yeah, it's just been so fun. And like, I swear to God, all the people that I've interviewed, like they're friends, you know what I mean? Like they're my friends now. I don't just think of them as like guests or interviewees or whatever. It's really
a continuing relationship that keeps progressing and growing, right?
I think it's the best thing that came out of COVID, 100%. Like podcasts, period. Yeah. Like podcasts have exploded over COVID.
That's true.
That's where this one came from.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me that just started listening to them because of COVID or what. I don't know, but like, it's definitely I think it's the best.
Wow,
news,
the positive twist
media platform there is. Like long form like that is by far the best because you're getting truths. You're not getting just buzzwords and questions that they've answered a million times.
Yeah, like 47-second news flash.
You're getting to see like actually a piece of somebody. 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever.
Yeah,
like people can't hide in that time period.
Not really.
Like not even
now when you get those
maybe a good
calls,
politician
you know what
probably can still hide in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
They might have enough bullshit in them to last 2 hours, but it's
something leaks out.
You get to actually see people and experience people, and the conversations I think are cool, and you guys like, you know, to make the episodes, you guys gotta be reaching out to guests who are not just like your lane.
Yeah.
Like,
hell no.
You can't just do your lane.
No.
So you're gonna have these people who are like, and that's the coolest thing like about Alaska, and that there's so many things here that like people do and are into, and like their lives are like I feel like I do a lot of stuff, and it ain't denting like what you can do here. Yeah, like, there's so much to this place and to people, and you guys are all getting to experience a lot of it. It's a super good. I mean, it's good for you guys.
Yeah,
I think it's good for everyone.
Yeah,
whether you're not learning, you're just
wasting time.
Or even just gaining some entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, and it's fun to chop it up with other podcasters, and I say that like kind of lightly
because you're a podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
it's official, bro. You're like, what episode
really
is this?
Like a podcast.
83.
Yeah, you're a podcaster.
I mean, Alice is a podcaster. She's like legit. Like, and we had this same sentiment for Cody. Like, it's an inspiration.
Yeah,
it's like you went out on a limb. You went for it. Like, you didn't give a fuck what anybody thinks. You're gonna do this thing. You believe it. You're convicted in your thoughts, in your stories, in your values and the vision of what you're, you know.
Yeah, but you're all of those things too.
I know.
You just don't have a cool bio.
Not yet.
Like, you just need to sit down and write a good bio, bro.
It's about time to start building that shit up. Man. Be like, yeah,
it's not good. Like, her bio didn't even have half her shit on it. There was nothing in her bio about aeronautics and gonna be an astronaut. Like, she had so much shit, she just left that out. Like, that's not
and by the way, I saw 3 rocket launches,
6 internships with NASA, didn't even make the cut.
No, but it is just it's just another avenue that I didn't even know that was even like a thing that you could do to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And like this particular topic, that we're discussing today and what you represent, it's really important to me because I'm like very prideful, lifelong Alaskan. And I can say that, and it can sound all cheesy and like fucking Alaska this and Alaska that, and just like ice road truckers and fucking crabbing, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what we're trying to do different with the podcast, is to shed a different light on it.
I think all Alaskans want to get rid of those things.
Yeah.
Those reality shows.
But like the like true like grassroots or permafrost Alaska Native culture. I mean, to me, it's like really important because, again, I take a lot of pride in being a lifelong Alaskan. Like, how do I say this? Like, I feel like a Native Alaskan because this is all I know, and this is where I was born, and this is where I was raised. And you are a
Native Alaskan.
I'm just saying, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's how deep my pride and like joy and how much I love this place and the real like truths and history of it. It's like I wouldn't really be here if it wasn't for that. So it's like, I don't know, man. To me, it's a big deal, and it was like really cool to finally get to broach this topic because we haven't really had an opportunity to like go down this lane yet. And it's also like, I don't know, man. Am I wrong or right? Like, it's a little bit sensitive. Like, it's
I think what it is,
you gotta be careful with this.
There's a lot of respect, I think, is what the main word is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of respect for the cultures and the people that were here way before us. And so you always want to approach these type of topics or these type of communications or conversations with the right angle and the right light and with the utmost respect. Because even though you have been here your whole life and maybe your dad and your mom was here their whole life, there's generations upon generations upon generations that were here way before us that we wouldn't have had this opportunity if they didn't start it. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
I think it is.
And not just started, I think even suffer through it.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of dark history that isn't really spoken about, and there's a lot of trauma. And I don't like to focus on those things at all, especially in my podcast. But those are real.
It's a truth, though, right?
And they come out. It's not a focus, but it definitely comes out in certain like conversations and certain guests and stuff like that. And it's real. And that's okay. I mean, it's okay to just acknowledge that. It's just we don't want to stay there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to dwell on that.
Yeah.
No, I think they should be used as teachable moments. Like those times in history, like
how to grow from it.
Like I don't know how anyone else feels about it, but my opinion, to be 100% candid, is like I don't like all the cancellation stuff and the taking down of stuff. Like I don't think that you're not fixing it by doing that. Like change the leave the statue there, change the statue, change what's said under that, like, or
change the perception of
put the real story, tell the real story of what that was. And like, you don't have, like, it doesn't have to be, a statue doesn't have to be like heroic or like you're making this person iconic, bigger than they were. Yeah. Like you can use that as a teachable moment and use it to educate people on like the shit we got wrong.
Yeah.
Cause we're going to get more shit wrong. Like that's just life.
Yeah. Human nature.
And there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad.
But you don't fix it by erasing it.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Like a statue of Columbus on wherever he was at. Like instead of just tearing it down so no one knows that was there, leave it there so that maybe children can have questions and be like, actually, you know what this guy did.
Yeah. Let's change let's change how we're teaching it.
Yeah.
Let's change that. Like let's write the history, they always say like, well, history is always written by the victor, right? So it's never the truth.
Yeah.
Because it's not written by the people that were defeated.
Lost. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I just feel like you shouldn't try to erase it because it doesn't work. Like
I don't think you erase it. I think you explain it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And I wish we did a better job of that. And like, you can get caught up in like how you're saying, like all language has always had like derogatory and I mean, I don't even want to call it racist because I don't necessarily think that it was always came from a racist, like a hatred point of view. It was just like a derogatory thing that you said to like make fun of someone maybe. And then it gets turned in, it gets hijacked, and then it gets turned into something that's like bad and evil and dirty. And I think we're all guilty of it in a way. And I think like, I know for me, like having the experience of like, you know, being not going to college, so working construction, and like I got to spend time in villages that I would have never spent time in and worked there, and like that shit erases all that stuff that you like. You just thought this is what Native communities were like because
the actual
that's
experience
what people told you, and then you go there and you're like,
didn't know any better.
It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And I think like I saw this TED Talk once where it was a guy from the Middle East, and his TED Talk was basically, he was just saying like, if you want to solve like racism and nationalism and all the hatreds in the world, just give everyone the ability to travel the world and it all goes away.
Yeah.
Because all of
Let 'em see it.
all of it is, a lot of it's born out of ignorance because you're just hearing something, like these stories just get passed down about a certain people or a certain whatever. Like how you're saying like Inuits and Athabaskans were like at war and like, you know, and I remember working in Fairbanks, and the Native guy that was on our crew, like we were going to this bar and he's like, I can't go to that bar. He was Athabaskan. And he was like, I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, that's an Inuit bar. And
Oh, really?
like they will fight.
big no-no.
I will get in a fight in there. Like, and I was like, what? Like, I didn't know this about like Native culture at all. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was like,
still mad?
yeah, I'd never heard of it. Like, I'd never heard of it. Like,
Well, if you look back in
anything.
history, I mean, that is really what pushed different peoples into different regions, was them warring with other tribes, other villages, and then obviously the loser has to move on. So it came down to pride hunting grounds, whether you were hunting from, you know, the northern region or the wooded region or the taiga or the ocean, and then whatever the dominant group in that would just push out the other group, and so that in turn pushed them towards another area or another section until eventually you know, people had to go to islands, you know, and from there was born a whole another tribe where they learned how to survive and how to hunt on those areas, and that all came from war and from battle.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously, you know, families and groups and people don't always get along, and that comes with war and that comes with battle, and then from there the loser moves on. That's just been happening in history of the world forever.
Well, yeah, I mean, Animal Kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think number one, the biggest thing between Inupiaq people and Athabaskan people is the Brooks Range. So I think that was definitely definitive in some sort of way.
The natural border break.
Because that was where they met, right?
Yep. And so, and then there were people like Jacqui, who's from Kotzebue, and up the river in Kotzebue is kind of like a different vibe too. Like that, she said her grandmother, I think, like spoke several different languages, which these were established trade routes. You know what I mean? Like it's all up and down northern Alaska, interior of Alaska, and so these places that were on the cusp and from one, maybe a Yupik village to an Inupiaq village to an Athabaskan village is, you know, like if you can speak several languages, then you can just probably make bank right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
And resources, and not money. I'm talking about like
diversify.
resources and that kind of thing. I mean, it's so interesting, and it's weird because we talk. I mean, when I hear you talking about it, it sounds like it was like some very long ago thing, and like it was just like human evolution. But I don't really feel like it was like that. It's just a misunderstanding and like an ignorance of how life used to be in those days pre-Western contact. I think it was very minimized in the sense that like we were barbarians or savages or whatever, and we didn't have like complex familial relationships and trade routes and things like that, because that all existed. That was like it was working, you know what I mean? And it was in place and it was working good.
Like it was regional and everybody did their thing. And
yeah, I mean, there were beads that they found on the North Slope that were from Italy. Like there were trade routes all the way to Italy, and I mean at that time, you know what I mean? Like they had certain things, and I just feel like it's always, and we're still coming to this reclamation and this revitalization of coming to understand the real impacts of those kinds of things, because of it being written about in this sensationalization of like the doctrine of discovery, right? The doctrine of discovery was that all land is yours if you're Christian or whatever. And if you're not Christian, then you're not able to keep that land. That was the whole like Western expansion. And because Native Americans weren't part of that, they, you know, other European nations that were Christian at the time, like they felt like they could just come and take land. And so with that came like this bias. Like I just read an article recently, and it was the first International Polar Year, which was in 1882, which is not that long ago, honestly. And it was like the first
not at all.
expedition to Utqiagvik that was, I think, sponsored by like the Museum of Natural History or something like that, some like scientific folks. Anyways, they wanted to come and like take scientific data, and I don't think they were planning to do like anthropological work. Excuse me. But they did. So they like had a whole journal and all this stuff or whatever. But it was all about like deconstructing like gender and like bias at the time. And, you know, if you could think about like what was going on in, you know, colonial America at the time, and they're applying those to how life was in Utqiagvik at the time, which was completely different, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So everything that they're recording and observing at the time was through this internal bias of like patriarchy and like women should be subservient to men and like all of this stuff, right? And not all of it's great, obviously, and some of it was working, you know, for, you know, colonial America at the time or whatever, but all of the things, like all the scientific data, all of the observance of Alaskan Native people, Inupiaq people at the time, it was just through this lens that was just casting us. And one very specific thing was that they viewed Inupiaq men inferior to white American men because Inupiaq men couldn't control their wives, which meant women had more liberation. They were like more sexually free. They didn't have children at like a young teen age or whatever, you know, like how they married teens to like old men or whatever. That didn't happen. There was more like autonomy between the two sexes. And the way that they viewed that was that, okay, Inupiaq men can't control their women. And because of that, they are a disappearing race. Because they're not recognizing formal marriage and family relationships
like
or whatever.
Women's taken over almost.
Not that women took over, but that it wasn't seen that like families would exist beyond, like they would continue to have children and live and thrive. It seemed like to them that because they weren't like married under God or whatever, and they weren't like dedicated to one another 100% of the time, that like families wouldn't be able to live and, I don't know, be successful.
Expand.
They wouldn't be able to build a civilization out of it, like a large, like expanding civilization.
Right.
They would have continued. They felt like they would have continued how they were, but they weren't.
No, they called them the disappearing race because of this. So they thought like the way that they experienced Inupiaq people was that they were going to die off soon. And if we don't save them or whatever, like if we don't indoctrinate them into Christianity.
There's a lot of saving going on. A lot of bullshit saving.
Damn Christians.
So, I mean, it was just a really interesting way. And I was like, wow, I've never like seen it like from the horse's mouth kind of thing. I always like kind of heard or like felt or understood in some way. But then I read the article and I was like, wow, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and that's only because, I mean, we're speaking in 2020 now, or 2022. But, I mean, it's just like, if that's one article, you know what I mean, that you're reading, and like this is like centuries and just decades of information and scientific data and all that kind of stuff. It's just ridiculous to me, and it really puts things into perspective. And obviously I know that you don't blame people for those kinds of things that happened at the time. Like I'm not like saying, oh shit, like they were so dumb and like ridiculous and dumb and stupid and
that's just like, your opinion. Like,
well, you don't know what you don't know.
Right?
You only know what someone told you or what you read.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if no one ever shows you the actual other side or the truth, how would you know? Yeah. We'll be right back with some more dope shit.
Yep.
Barney Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. Barney specializes in supplying hunters with the absolute best Alaskan-proven gear on the market for some of nature's most rugged and demanding terrain. Whether you're headed to the remote volcanic islands of the Alaska Peninsula in search of a brown bear, or the shale-infested glacial valleys of the Brooks Range for Dall sheep, it is critical you choose the right gear for your dream hunt. Don't miss Barney's exclusive brand, Frontier Gear of Alaska, tested from the high mountains of Tajikistan to the extreme conditions of Alaska. These products were designed for high performance and durability. Frontier Gear was derived from decades of experience hunting big game in Alaska. Paired with other top brands, it provides you the absolute best gear selection anywhere in the world. Stop in at Barney Sports Chalet in Anchorage on Northern Lights, or check out their custom website and reference tool at barneysports.com.
Arbor Capital. Arbor Capital is based in Anchorage, Alaska, and it's your go-to wealth management company. Arbor Capital is at the forefront of digital assets and cryptocurrencies. If you've been looking to invest your hard-earned money, or you just want to learn more about crypto, blockchain technology, or digital investments, give their website arborcapital.io a visit. What's great about Arbor is they provide a low-cost, transparent, research-based investment strategy for digital assets and traditional investments as well. arborcapital.io is your first step in putting your money to work. Let one of Arbor's investment professionals walk you through your options for financial growth and security. Start investing for the future today at arborcapital.io. Arbor Capital, your Alaska digital asset company.
Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience. At Total Truck, you can find brands such as ARE, RSI Smart Caps, Goose Gear, iCamper, Front Runner, Rigid Lights, Rhino Linings bed liners, and everything you need to outfit your truck or SUV. Alaska Overlander provides 4x4 vehicles and expedition trailers, custom modified for Alaskan adventures and outfitted with rooftop tents, fridges, and all the camping and cooking gear you need to start exploring. Visit them at alaskaoverlander.com. Yeah, I was actually watching you a little bit, like soaking it in, and you do you're listening like good. Like again, I'm like, okay, she's not like just staring at the ceiling over here, man. She's like soaking it up.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And like you see, it seems like you have a pretty calculated-ish response, or like you're like processing and then you have a good response. And like, you know, check these fools, man. Don't hesitate.
Oh yeah, please do.
No,
Honestly,
I'm not trying to check anyone. I don't think there's any good.
I meant that like jokingly, but
no,
like
I hear you.
You know, like I mean, this is the fun about this conversation, and it's open nature.
Yeah.
You know what the topics are.
Well, what's interesting is like my older sister Patuk and my dad, they're like really great storytellers, like very engaging, you know, they're like super animated and people listen when they speak. And I grew up with that. And so I always wanted to be that way, and I was tried, you know, and I'm always still trying. But it's just not ever going to be. Nah, I mean, like if you listen to my sister, if you listen to my dad, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
It's probably awesome around a campfire or something. Just like
they are so great, and they're able to reach audiences, you know, across. And I really appreciated that. So I kind of feel like I grew up as a listener, you know, listening to them speak. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely helped me with my podcasting, and you know, because most of it is listening. I think
you should just. You should like record some of their storytelling and have that like as like a Patreon feature where people can like
that would be dope.
Download those stories. I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to
Oh,
hear
it'd be
those
so
stories.
cool to listen to those stories, man.
Dude.
Anyone who's like
have them.
been through the real we think we're real Alaskans, dude. We got like Gore-Tex and shit. Like we're not.
Yeah.
Like the old timer stories. Like I could listen to those. Like I would literally. I would take.
So fun.
I don't know, a million Red Bulls and just stay awake. I could listen for days.
Oh man, the homies in the neighborhood, man, we'd have sleepovers and they would be like, "Oh, my uncle told me one time he saw Bigfoot," and well, is there a name for Bigfoot?
Invkpasuk.
Yeah, that's right. They used like the native name, and I mean, these dudes were like, this wasn't like scare the white boy next door story. They were like real deal. They like the way they broke it down. I mean, they told it probably the best way they could through the uncle, but it was like I was absolutely a believer in Bigfoot after that. I was like,
what was the name
if these boys said they saw it and they got a story on a hunting trip,
Yeah.
and they like I mean, come on, you harvest
Yeah.
everything
They're out
and
there
you do the thing, and it's like you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah, man, it was.
If anybody's gonna see Bigfoot for real, it's not some
I feel like it's like
college
anybody that literally
white dude hiking
lives
in
the
Oregon,
bush.
like
Yeah.
on his one hike that he did. It's
Yeah.
someone who's out there in the wilderness.
Yeah.
all the time. Yep.
Well, I used to
Yeah.
work for my village corporation in environmental permitting. When I first moved back here, I was like, okay, I'm going to get a job and save up and go back to school for my master's. But so at that time, I was kind of doing this job, just trying to make ends meet and to save up for school. But part of that job was working with this group of, I can't remember what we called them. They're like subsistence observers or community observers or whatever, where they would go and self-monitor some of the wildlife there in different villages. And we had like maybe 11 villages on the North Slope that we were, hiring people to be these observers. And one came back, and sometimes they have the Inupiaq word, and I'm like, oh, I know Inupiaq. I can understand what they're trying to say, like if it's a goose or like whatever kind of animal it was. But there's this one word, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It was Invkpasuk, and I was like, what the heck? So I texted my dad, and I was like, Dad, what is Invkpasuk? And he was like, came back like 10 minutes later, it was like Bigfoot. And I was like, stop. So there was some guy I can't remember if it was Athabaskan or Inupiaq Pass, one of the villages, and they were like saying that they saw Invkpasuk, this location at this time, like all this information. And I was just like, whoa, they like for real thought they saw Bigfoot out there. Like, cause they recorded it, you know what I mean? Like it was like a recorded animal. They were like, okay, I saw a brown bear, I saw this kind of fish in this area, blah, blah,
And
blah.
they expect to see those.
Right.
Like you're like, okay, we're in this territory. We're going to probably see these.
And I
So
also
funny.
saw Bigfoot.
Yeah. I was like, dang, man, maybe they did, but it's wild.
I mean, why would they just make it up?
No.
You know what I mean?
And if there's a word, Invkpasuk literally means big person. Inuk means man or, like a person. And then Pasuk kind of is like extra or more.
That's what Shaq should change his name to.
Invkpasuk. He wants to.
If it comes back out with a rap album.
How do you
Like he could be the first. Like it's like Kareem, Muhammad Ali. Like they all are Muslim. He's like, nah.
I'm going
Bigfoot.
full Inuit.
how do you spell that?
Invkpasuk. Invkpasuk. That's Inupiaq, North Slope Inupiaq spelling. There's different.
Badass.
Yeah. It might be an N with a brow. I'll have to double check.
Okay.
Does the Inupiaq culture go into Canada?
Yes. So
How far?
Inuit people refers to
All the way to Greenland,
people
right?
of the people of the circumpolar north, and we all have like basically a parent language.
Okay.
Inuit. We're all very
Like a main
similar.
dialect?
My sister, she went to, so there's this convention or this gathering or whatever, it's called ICC, Inuit Circumpolar Council, General, like a big meeting that they have in different places in the Arctic. And sometimes it's in Barrow or Utqiagvik, and sometimes it's in Greenland, sometimes it's in Canada or whatever.
Does it go to Russia?
Nordic regions.
Chukotka, I think they do, but it's difficult. Like, not everyone can travel there, obviously.
But I mean, does
Not now.
does that count?
Siberian Yupik, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It all
Siberian
rounds in there.
Yupik. So Yupik is interesting because sometimes some Yupik people identify as Inuit and some don't. I know Siberian Yupik definitely, I don't want to say definitely, but I think that they identify as Inuit, and Inuit people just refers to, everyone close to or around the Arctic Circle around the world. And so when my sister went to this ICC meeting or whatever, she said that she was speaking with them, and she shared languages from our villages on the North Slope, and they said that we spoke an ancient language. So the idea is that they originated from our region
And branched off from there.
and they went
So
eastward.
the land bridge.
Maybe
Possibly.
I mean,
No, that would
that's
be
something,
west.
but
You're saying from Alaska?
Would have started from Russia.
Oh.
Well, that's what we were told.
I don't
But
know.
I
don't really
not
agree.
history wise. I think
Okay.
science is.
Science
Well,
is science.
history wise would tell you that. I mean, Columbus found this place. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
what you
yeah.
mean
You
Western
know-
education would tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But science is like, I mean, they're finding.
But the
what they
idea
just
is-
they just
the
found,
idea
like, the
is
oldest
that-
human in the Americas, like ever.
The people from
like-
the Arctic Ocean and the Arctic Circle area
Yeah.
started in a certain spot and spread
Branched
out,
out.
Yeah.
and branched out all the way to Russia, to
Greenland.
Greenland.
This started in the West, though, is what you're saying, right? Most likely.
well, no,
because
that's
of
what
the
their
ancient
people are
language.
saying.
started here
And then went east.
eastward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they said, like, so in Greenland they speak, I think, Kalatlisut, and they call Greenland Kalatlit. Kalatlisut is the language, and they said that we speak an ancient language, like people from Wainwright, people from Point Hope. They feel like that's almost like their homecoming. I don't want to speak for everyone. This is just what my understanding
Sure.
from
Sure,
whatever I've
sure.
heard so far. I don't know for sure. But I know Utqiagvik is which is Point Hope. They are the longest continuously inhabited village in North America.
Oh,
That's
wow.
their
Wow.
claim to fame. And then I know I went to New Mexico one time, and they said Taos Pueblo was the longest continuously inhabited Native American village, like, site. But I
Yeah.
mean, I was like, I don't know. You got to fight with Point Hope because, like, they've been there forever. And
Yeah, and that's way up there in the middle of
yeah,
nowhere.
right. And yeah, I don't know.
Not surrounded by a whole lot of other land.
And like you were saying, like they come up with these, new findings every so
Yeah.
often. I think there was just a recent one too, where it was
Yeah.
like very old, and it just
Yeah, it beat like the oldest human in the Americas by, like, I don't know, 20,000 years or something. Like, it was very significant.
Yeah.
And it was, like, very well preserved, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Did you?
I think you and I.
Oh.
This came up in like maybe some like Rainfest tent talk or something
Wow.
on a sheep hunt. I don't know, but
and Native American people have been saying that for a long time. That's
Yeah.
the thing is, and and I'm very, like, cerebral. I've always been scientifically focused. My dad is a geologist, you know what I mean? And so,
Oh,
like,
wow.
I've always been just kind of, like, to that and always fell back on that and thinking that, like, Inuit stories were just stories. But when you kind of, like, once I became an adult, I was kind of, like translating these stories in my mind in a way that they tell you stories so that you remember them. Almost like, hey, like, let's... Inupiaq people know that when you make people feel an emotion when you tell a story, you'll remember it more
Sticks.
rather than, just talking about, like, X, Y, and Z and, like, like school or whatever, like, you tell a history lesson or something. You're not going to remember that shit. It's so boring. So if you attribute emotion to some stories, like, you're better and more capable of remembering them. So, I mean, there's some ways that, like, I don't want to say sensationalize, but, like, we get to the
Emphasize, maybe?
like, it's harsh or, like, something's crazy or, like, it scares you or it's sickening or, like, something like that. And
yeah,
that
upsets
way
you.
and you remember it.
Yeah, but it
It's-
sticks that way.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, there was this
We
crazy
never remember the
thing.
easy shit, man.
No. There's
You
like,
always remember the fucked up shit.
so we grew up in Barrow, Utqiagvik, learning about this story called the 10-legged polar bear. And it's basically like this super duper fast bear. And it's called the 10-legged polar bear because it has so many legs, it's so fast. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, maybe in translation, they're saying that it has 10 legs to say, like,
It's
maybe
fast.
it's just super duper fast.
Yeah.
And that same year,
Yeah.
there was someone from the Arctic that found remnants of a weasel bear. And I was like, it was like the size of a polar bear, but I mean, like 5 to 10 times larger than the size of a polar bear, but shaped like a weasel. And it's like, if it's shaped like a weasel and it's a polar bear, it's going to be fucking fast. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fast
damn.
bear. That's creepy and crazy. And so, like, we have stories, mythological stories. I don't even want to say mythological, but like they're stories that we have in our culture about the 10-legged polar bear. And I'm like, maybe they call it the 10-legged polar bear just because it's fast.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe it's
That was
real.
that was the best way to describe it back then when you had like
right.
very limited vocabulary.
In language.
Yeah.
Not limited vocabulary, just maybe
Well,
that's
you
what
didn't
the
have
language was at the time.
You didn't have 1,000 adjectives to describe stuff.
Well,
you know what
I mean, we do still.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
but
we did
they probably had
then.
never encountered a weasel or something else that they can identify it with. So they had to say, well, this is what we know, and just imagine this with like 10 feet.
It's crazy to think, like, off topic, but like the animals we have now are like so minor compared to like what used to be here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like when you see like like I don't know, megalodon,
mastodons.
the wolves, what's the giant wolf that they used to have? I forget what it's called, but
That like mega wolf thing.
yeah, it's like, I mean, everything was just way bigger,
Saber-toothed tiger.
way worse, way meaner, way like.
The mammoth.
You know, now
raising
that
the mammoth.
you mention that, like, you know, a polar bear's general like construction is so much different than like a grizzly or a brown bear or a black bear. Like, they're longer. They have like long necks with smaller heads. No, I'm not saying that they're like weasel-like.
They're a lot angrier.
Maybe a little more aggressive. I'm just saying, I actually just read like a bear identification. When you and I got that brown bear this spring, and we were like looking at skull sizes, and we were like looking at Boone and Crockett, and I started rabbit holing around.
Yeah.
And then I was like, bear identification. I was like, man, I've like read a lot of that shit, but not really maybe as much as I thought I did.
I don't know much about bears.
When I like started digging in, and I'm like, oh shit, like, you know, like polar bears are really the biggest bear, but in general, like, not really. They don't have the biggest skulls. You know, Peninsula and Kodiak brown bears have bigger skulls.
Yeah.
So I was like, I had this misperception of like they were just like bigger than anything. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. And then you start looking at them and you start watching videos and photos of the different, like, how they're constructed, you know, like the big hump on a grizzly, and then like the bigger head on brown bears because they eat, you know, fish. And then you got polar bears that are like aquatic, you know, they swim and they hunt and they dive and they do their thing. It's like, oh shit, like they're just like different all the way across the board. And a polar bear is very unique, man. Like, and you mentioned the Point
hair.
Hope, yeah, the Point Hope angle. My ex-wife worked for Utqiagvik, and so she made routine runs up to Point Hope. And one time, man, she sent me a picture of a harvested polar bear, and I was like, "Oh shit! Like, that still happens?" And I was like, then I quickly learned that yes, that absolutely happens. But it was very surreal to see. It was a huge community, like, celebration to harvest a polar bear. And when she showed me the picture of her next to it, it was like, holy shit, because they had the hideout, and it was huge.
I think it's the biggest land carnivore, right?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. But that was normal. That's like, you know, like whaling, seal hunting, the like, maybe we can segue a little bit into this stuff. To me, it was kind of like, oh, damn. Like, someone doesn't just text you a picture of that very often. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like, oh shit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't
kinda
even
got
have
over-
the fur.
Dude,
No.
There was a video in Utqiagvik, which is, east of Utqiagvik, the village east of Utqiagvik, and they have polar bears like dogs. Like they come into town and
Get in the trash and
they'll hide under schools, under your house, and like be crazy. It's wild. I was like, dang, man.
Where's this at again?
Utqiagvik, Barrow Island.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, my friend Flora Rexford, she's a teacher, and their school tragically burned down last year, I think it was, or the year before.
Bummer.
Yeah, and so they've been having to make do with what they have at the time, or whatever's available. But like, for some reason in Utqiagvik, they see like polar bears will gather by like, 10s, 20s, like
herds almost.
Like a mass.
Yeah, and they, they're solitary animals. They don't really hang out with each other unless they're gonna mate or whatever. But like in Utqiagvik, for some reason, there's a bunch that always come. And Flora, she's always posting these crazy videos of them, and they'll like go and they'll drive and they don't shoot them and they don't bother them, unless they have to. Unless
Unless they become a threat.
Habitual.
I've seen
right. Probably the younger, less educated ones that end up being those pesky ones, right?
Well, I mean, I grew up with polar bears too in Utqiagvik, and if there was a polar bear out, they would tell us in the morning so we don't walk to school. Like, hey, there's a polar bear out, today, like, don't fucking walk to school. I'm like, all right, well, thanks for telling me, geez. But, I mean, it's normal, it's normal to see them around, and we all, like, it's weird because I have this kind of feeling or this theory that our bodies remember more than our minds do, you know what I mean? And so I have nightmares about polar bears. I have nightmares. My mom had nightmares about floods, just talking about like the whole, Typhoon Merbok, West Coast.
That was fucking crazy.
So crazy. And
I was out hunting and I came home and my wife told me that. And I'm like, what? I started rabbit holing into videos. I'm like,
dude, it's terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was like, man, my problems aren't such a big deal like that. Oh, seriously, you see shit like that and you're like, wow, that's like in my state. That's where I live.
Yeah.
These folks are dealing with that shit. It's like I was blown away.
No.
It's heartbreaking.
All of those Western like villages and shit like that, like it's unreal. And I have this climate change panel that I'm going to be on, and I guess it's like hosted by some PBS thing. I haven't really looked too much into it, which I feel a little bit bad about, but I just know that when I get on that panel, I'm definitely going to talk about that for fundraising purposes, because like these these people that have lost their homes, like there was a whole tank farm underwater, like people have lost so much stuff, and it is. And we've had that in Utqiagvik before, we live on the coast. It's happened. Yeah. The last big one was in 1967, I think it was, and
it's like an every 50-year thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said. Well, they said every 100 years, but I mean, now, if the, the weather patterns are changing so rapidly, it's probably going to be, more frequent.
It shortens it up.
And my mom, she has nightmares about floods like that, because that's happened in Utqiagvik before, at least at Narl, or the Naval Arctic Research Lab side of town. And it's been like completely underwater. And then you lose several feet or inches or whatever.
Is that the
coastline.
East side of town?
It's the northernmost. So it's by Nuvuk, which is the northernmost point, up north.
What's on the east past the football field? Was that part of the harp?
Oh, yeah. That's Qannik, which is our old town site. And it's a site where we used to go, and we still do, continue to go geese hunting.
But there's like a old military. Is that part of the harp?
Naval Arctic Research Lab. Mm-hmm. That's part of it. Yeah.
So that's where I worked.
Qannik is a little bit further than Narl. Okay. Yeah. So I know what you're talking about. It
has the only bar. Huts. Yeah. Yeah, those are there.
Qannik is further north, but Narl is the Quonset huts.
Oh, I think I'm talking about it's like part of the Star Wars thing that we had. And then after the Cold War ended.
Or the Dew Line.
The Cold War Treaty.
Distant Early Warning System.
Yeah, they made that can't be manned by military personnel.
Narl. We call it Narl. It's Naval Arctic Research Lab that's where the Navy resided. So this is a fun story. My grandfather, who's originally from Nebraska, he joined the Navy. He ended up being stationed in Utqiagvik. Met my grandmother, who's an Alaskan Native Inupiaq woman living in Utqiagvik at the time, but the town site was far from Gnarl. It's like 5 miles away.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that was their, their site, and then ours was our site. And at that time, you weren't allowed to fraternize with the natives. Yeah. So he ended up having to leave.
So no flirting with the local girls?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He ended up having to leave the Navy to marry my grandmother. And
he fell in love. Yeah. He's like, I gotta go, boys.
And you know what's funny is she was doing the communications, like the phone thing.
Switchboard.
Oh, what?
Like old
she was
style.
the one in the middle there.
So my appa would just kind of call just to talk to her and stuff.
Oh, sure.
And, yeah.
Do his own radio check.
Radio check.
Don't patch me through.
Hey, I'm not done talking to you.
During the Cold War. Yeah, that's wild.
That is crazy. That's a fun story. That is fun.
It is really fun. They're still alive and married today.
And how much more like Midwest can that be? Nebraska.
You
Corn
Nebraska
for days,
to well, if you just look at the connection in the history of families, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, it really.
When you think about like history and like how families are made up and bloodlines and stuff, it's pretty wild.
Do you guys get looked down upon if someone's like mixed race?
Oh, it's a good question, man.
By who?
By your own people. By like maybe
Invkpasuk.
elders or other people in your community that are like, oh, she's not 100% or something like that.
I would say
Like
not
pure blood or whatever.
Not traditionally.
Yeah.
My sister would tell you otherwise because she's the more phenotypically white-looking person in our family. She looks a lot like my dad, and my dad looks a lot like his dad, who's from Nebraska.
Corn-fed?
Yeah. I think she had a difficult experience, and then because she looked more phenotypically white, and we live in a predominantly Inupiaq community, and so I think she compensated or overcompensated a lot because of that, and so that's her experience. And she doesn't talk about it a lot because she doesn't like to talk about it a lot, but it comes out. And then my partner Amos, his older sister, who's my age, she looks phenotypically white too, even especially when she dyes her hair blonde. And so some people will be like, who are you? Who's this white girl? When she's serving at like Metlakatla, which is our whale feast, or was it not the messenger feast? The feast in the summertime, we call it Nalukataq. I don't know I can't remember the English translation, but so when she's serving there, like they, question her sometimes, and she feels kind of badly about it. And I have seen some people react really badly to, like at basketball games, we had a white classmate, and he was the son of 2 teachers who lived in Barrow for a long time, or Utqiagvik for a long time, and he said that they were really nasty to him in the villages because he was white. So, I mean, it happens.
Naturally.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to my next question. Is there pressure to marry within your own culture or your own village? Because there was a lot of pressure when I was a young man. My mom wanted to send me to Colombia, marry a Colombian girl.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck the white girls. Fuck these other girls. We're sending you back. So I'm just curious, like, is that translate to other cultures? Is there any of that? No?
No, I don't think there's any pressure. And these are also cases that, I mean, I think it happens, but I wouldn't say it's the rule. What do they say? It's the exception, not the rule. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think people, here's why I say this, is because we experience the outside world differently than our own home community. And we also experience a lot of things through media, right? And in media, we aren't seeing Inupiaq people or sometimes even people of color on TV a lot, right? So the idea and the feelings around those are different especially internally, like internalized depression for ourselves. If we're not seeing ourselves in the media that we're consuming, there's also some types of like feelings of like, hey, I don't want to be Native. I don't want to be Inupiaq. And that's not to say, I mean, I experienced that, and I'm not saying that that's everyone's experience, but I do feel like that was a real thing, at least like, you know, in the early 2000s and that kind of thing, and especially during my sister's era too. So I think that she just wanted to fit in locally, you know, and she was getting in a lot of shit by my cousins. My cousins are all Inupiaq, you know, very Inupiaq or whatever. But no, I mean, to get married and stuff like that, that's a weird thing too. We're also experiencing like this kind of revolution in this idea of blood quantum, which we understand now to be a system that would like eventually erase indigenous peoples by quote unquote blood quantum. Because
I've never heard of that term.
Blood quantum?
Yeah, what does that mean?
So there's
I kind of know what that
Like
means.
watering it down?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, this is the reason that you're attributed to a tribe or that you're considered Native is because you're a certain blood quantum. You have to be able to prove your ancestry.
To have rights to, like,
Native
free medical and
Native things.
Like 127th or something?
It depends on which tribe you're referring to or whatever. It's different for each tribe, and that's part of tribal sovereignty. But the way that happens is, like, you're never going to, like, be more unless, you know, like, you're in your own hometown. And it's just a way of, like, eventually, like, the way that the math works out is that within 100 or so years, like, we'll all be too little blood quantum to claim Native ancestry anymore, which will definitely, like, you know, there's no way that the U.S. government, I don't know, can say that they owe us anything or anymore.
I wonder if they set the system up that way.
They
for
did.
That.
I mean, I think that that's our understanding as Inupiaq people and Native people is that they
crazy.
sent
So it's like a long
set it
Because
up.
I mean that's gonna
wash out?
that's gonna be all peoples at some point, right? Like there's not gonna be white
that's
people.
gonna
I mean, there's not gonna be like right now. There's not even people that are like. I mean, you have like idiot white supremacists, and they're like, if they did their 23andMe, they're probably not even that white. You know what I mean? They're not as white as they think they are.
But as history goes on, it's going to eventually all
it's all going to just be.
Well, also they say that type of thing is good for a species, whether you're a caribou or any type of herd animal, you know, which is kind of what we are.
Yeah.
It is good for them to breed with other groups in order to longevity and not create inbreeding and things like that. Maybe.
Yeah. For the strength of the herd, for sure.
But to think that they thought of that when they created these laws or these rules or these rights, that's
I don't know.
Whoa, that's crazy.
What other demographic has blood quantum though? None. It's only Native American people. It's literally Native American.
Very
people.
true.
I mean, I've learned some stuff about like. Actually, Big Kyle turned me on to some stuff about how like welfare worked, and the reason why like he was telling me that the reason why like the black community has, you know, like when people talk about the black community and problems in the black community, even black leaders, is that father figures, right? Father's always gone. Kyle was explaining to me how like that welfare system was set up that if the father was in the home, you couldn't get welfare. So like welfare was designed to divide is as how he's explaining it. And like you're saying, whether that is like I mean
that's insane to think that someone back then like devised this manipulative idea
it makes
fucking
sense.
Brilliant.
If it makes sense systematically, then obviously it had to have been a conscious decision. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think it's my opinion. I mean,
these coincidences can't just keep stacking up. And I mean, like I went to DC with my wife like a couple years ago, which I think should be a mandatory trip for every freaking American. And when you're going and you're reading, like you walk the mall and you're reading quotes from dudes 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Like we haven't had a president that has said anything that resonates to the quality of the shit that was said by Lincoln and Roosevelt. No. Like you read that stuff on the walls and you are like, you're looking at Trump. Yeah, I mean, Obama was a brilliant speaker. He didn't say anything like what's written at that mall. Like you are like literally I was in tears, and I was like, why is this not a field trip for every high school kid in this country? When I looked around there in DC, there was hardly any Americans. It was all immigrants walking that thing, taking photos, taking it in, leaning in on everything. And you can't like that. That's a trip. Like we left there going like, okay, we got to come here specifically for 2 weeks. Cause we didn't even touch a Smithsonian. There's like 6 Smithsonian.
Yeah. You didn't have enough time for it.
Like you can't like, we went to Arlington, like that stuff is like heavy. And you're reading it, and it's like, so I 100% believe that those dudes were smart enough to put the shit in. Mm-hmm. And this stuff is thought out. When it went into law, like I believe that 100%.
That means that they're perceiving an end game to that.
100%.
Oh, wow. I mean, definitely like, at the time.
Yeah, we're going to pay you back.
You have to understand.
But it's going to, yeah, but eventually it's going to be done.
And thank God that like.
Hopefully.
And that should be something that Alaska Natives
so how does that
should be fighting for, is the sovereignty that American Natives have been given, where like,
well, that's what we're doing.
Well, there's like the CARES Act thing and all that too, right?
Well,
like,
even just recently, I had mentioned before when I first came in, it was a House Bill 34 and State Bill 34 and House Bill 184. One is recognizing that not to say that tribes have complete input in how education is formulated, but the idea is that 5 schools can be a demonstration project in how, because right now, like, the education system is like seriously fucking failing Native kids, and that's not just because of the history of education in Alaska or the U.S. AKA boarding schools and shit like that, where kids were fucking murdered and removed from their communities and completely demolished very many Alaskan Native villages and people, and traumatized much more. That it's not saying that is what's going to happen. What the bill is saying is that there can be a demonstration project for the state to flirt with the idea of implementing Alaska Native culture in schools, so that Native kids maybe can learn the way that they were intended to learn, and not like just sitting down in a classroom and reading books and like being taught to be uniform and whatever. So like trying to reimagine what education could look like for Native kids, because the American system has, the American government and the U.S. has a responsibility to Native American kids and their education. So if that's true, then we need to utilize that, and how can we make that better and give tribes and communities the authority and the empowerment to engage their own kids in a way that they think would be best for them, best for their communities. So that's what was one of them, and I feel like I'm being bad now because I can't remember which one it was. It was one of those two. And then the other one was to recognize tribal compacting, which is what has already been implemented in the healthcare system, where we have IHS, and in other ways too around America. But I mean, those things are still ongoing. Like, that's not in the past, that's not, or whatever. Like that, those conversations are still ongoing. And working at a place like AFN is allowing me to learn more and be engaged in that way. I kind of feel like AFN is like the parent version of me. Or like, if I'm going to create a podcast for AFN, it would be like, that would be like my parent, like those are adult themes and adult things that I I'm really kind of approaching and thinking about. But like Coffee and Quaq is just kind of like whatever I want to do, like what am I interested in today, and like what do I care about today. But they're kind of like the next, like we're taking care and fostering those kinds of thoughts.
Sounds like they want to get younger and get brighter ideas on like what are some solutions that you guys see.
Right.
That's brilliant of them to do that too. So big shout out to the president.
Keep up with the times.
They have to come up with a way. I mean, everyone has to, like, whatever culture, you have to have a way to like get kids engaged, because like I don't think the power of the vote, it doesn't mean the same. Like my grandfather, who was like, I don't know how they define it. Are you first generation American if you're the first generation born in America?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was first generation American. His parents were from Germany. And, he fought World War II against the Germans. And like to him, like if you didn't vote, if I was to tell if my daughter didn't vote, I feel my grandfather would be rolling over in his grave, right? Like that is like an important thing to that generation. And I think to like the younger generation, like they feel like their vote doesn't mean shit. And I think like everyone's got to get younger people more involved in this shit, because otherwise we wind up with a bunch of 80-year-olds running shit.
Well, it's literally like a newer version of a monarchy based on capitalism. People who have money can influence other people. Like, that's why nobody gets in trouble when you have hella money. You know what I mean? It's literally a monarchy, and whoever has the most money can pay for whatever they need and the votes.
And it deters kids from feeling like they have any power at all, but they do. If they come together and they all vote.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I don't know if that's true. I feel like that's what they sell us.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they have to come together. The system has to change, but that isn't going to happen from the top. The top ain't changing the system. No, because the system's built for the top.
It's the internal
culture.
So
the bottom has to. So like I tell my daughter, I'm like, I get it. I get why you don't want to vote federally. Like I get it, especially being an Alaskan. Like they're already fucking popping champagne before our polls are even done counting. Like I get that, but you better vote locally. You have to vote locally.
That's true.
And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you, because I don't know the opinion of like an Alaska Native. Of like, for me, like I like seeing the states have more power and the federal government to just like stay out of our shit. And I don't know, like, if you feel the same way. Would you like to see our state control more?
100%. Yeah, totally. And even furthermore, I would go into saying, like, I would rather see my tribe being able to, at least even deeper. Personally, as an Inupiaq person, because that is, government to government type of, it's supposed to be government to government type of stuff. And sometimes it's overridden and, I don't know, ignored or whatever, but I completely agree. We see eye to eye on that. Like, that's for sure. I would rather, like, especially things on, like, abortion and, like, all that kind of other stuff. It's like, dude, I don't need other people who feel some way in the East Coast, to
Vermont, to tell you how you do things up here.
How Alaskans need to live.
Well, the whole COVID thing, too, right? Like, that was a big thing. And, like,
that was completely unique
on showing people, like, hey, like the federal government shouldn't just be making decisions for everyone, because like New York City is not fucking Anchorage.
Yeah.
Like we have different, we're not on top of each other. Like all of it. But just like my experience in Arizona, like I saw, I had some friends that I made down there that were American Indian, and they lived on a reservation. And so I went to a reservation. And there was so much negative about it, but at the same time, like when they took that power and like yeah, I know it's casinos and shit like that. That's like, sin taxes. But when they took that back and they made that money, like, I feel bad that, like, Alaska Natives don't have that. And I went to Metlakatla, and, like, they're not an Indian reservation, but they kind of consider themselves that.
They are. I mean, legally they are.
Oh, they are legally.
Legally, Metlakatla is the only reservation in Alaska.
Okay, that's how they said it to me, but I thought like they weren't that like recognized federally or something like that. But I loved that about like, and they were very like, I know when we went there, we had to go, like we worked there, and so we had to go, and you had to do like an interview system with the local like elders. Before, like, you got approved, but then you had to get like approved. And so you had to go in and talk, and then they broke down all the rules. Like, you break this rule, and like, if you get a speeding ticket in Metlakatla, it's Metlakatla. Like, it's not going to count on your Alaska driver's license, but you better fucking pay Metlakatla. And I was like, okay, like, why? And I spoke to the guy that ran the because it's across from Ketchikan. It's an island, and so he ran the ferry, and he was born and raised in Metlakatla. He left there. He went and got his like license, and he wanted out, and he wound up getting a job running the ferry back and forth. And now he like same like you leave here and then realize like, no, okay, I know I wanted out, but now I want back. And so he's doing that, and talking to him, and I think they're I'm gonna mess it up, but Shimshin.
That's what I know.
And they're like warrior culture. Like, there were some bad motherfuckers, but he was like we took that ferry a lot, man, and I would just like sit up there in the like
Captain's Bridge
with him and just chat, because he was like, he had so much information, and I was just like picking his brain about like why are more Native communities not trying to do what you guys are doing, because like you're reinforcing your community and you're making revenue for your community, and like it's so awesome that everyone's banding together to do that. And like, they would like if people from the community got caught like bringing in alcohol, and it wasn't like, I think you can bring it in, but you had to like declare it kind of. And if you were like sneaking it in, you got caught, like they were banished for like time periods, like, you can't come back for like, so they had their own rules. And I was like thinking like,
it's like governed.
Why is this not being done more, where you're like,
that happens,
maybe
though.
You can't.
So how did they get away with that? Or not get away, but how did they establish that?
That's normal. I mean, Metlakatla is a federally recognized tribe. So is every other tribe in Alaska. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's just they sold their land away to be on a reservation. Whereas ANCSA, the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, there was, we lost land too. We lost like, I don't know, however many millions of acres of land in Alaska during ANCSA, but we also retained some for village and corporation use. Metlakatla refused to be part of that, I think because they took a cash settlement. Many of us took a cash settlement, but
so so the Native Corporation is the other version of like reservation.
Yes.
Oh.
So there's
see, he only told me his side, so he couldn't explain it like that. Okay, so that makes sense then.
So Metlakatla, in some ways,
because you took a cash settlement, basically, right?
They feel differently and they reacted differently. Where's Metlakatla? Do you guys know on the map?
Yeah, right across from Ketchikan.
Okay, so
southeast, far southeast.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, yeah. So I mean, in many ways, they were able to do that. Okay, because like in a place like Utqiagvik or the North Slope,
you're huge.
I mean, it's huge, but it's
a massive, expansive
area.
Small.
They are small,
tiny.
But it's also a place that like we can't just like be part of the U.S. and assimilate and like think that like we're going to sustain ourselves or like whatever. You know, we needed we needed to retain our land for hunting and subsistence rights for sure. Number one.
Yep.
Number two, we needed a way to financially take care of our people for the, you know, foreseeable future.
Yep.
And I don't know, and I don't claim to know anything about like why Metlakatla made those decisions or whatever in the beginning, and that's okay, and that's fine. But like for the North Slope, we needed some control, and it took a long time of negotiations to figure out, you know, what's what. And at that time they figured out surface rights and subsurface rights. So like oil, and then, you know, and then also like logging and shit like that, which is prevalent in the Southeast, but not existent in, you know, the Arctic.
No, not at all.
So, I mean, there were different reasons for different decisions. And then also you had to be majority Native to make decisions on behalf of your village or tribe. Like you couldn't just be like a white settlement in some homesteading place in Alaska and try to do Alaska Native Claim Settlement
You
Act.
have to be 50% plus bloodline.
Yeah, so that's definitely where blood quantum came into play. I don't claim to know anything, and I'm not an expert. I have no idea, and I'm still learning what everything INCSA had come to be. So I don't feel like I'm a great person to talk about all those kinds of things, but I do feel like there was some leadership on behalf of Alaska Native people to say, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to do to play the game of America. You know, like Game of Thrones. No, this is Game of American Thrones.
The Native.
No shit.
Okay, now you're explaining it. The Native Corp is a better play.
Yes, if you look at like who
Totally.
made out a better deal,
you explained it. It's a better play.
Yeah, definitely a better play. They got a better say on rights.
So I guess
we also retained our tribes. So we have tribes. Like Native Village of Barrow is my tribe, and then ASRC, Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, is my regional corporation. Then we also have a village corporation that manages our lands. So like that's the different layers, and that's completely different from the Native American reservations, you know, of the early American colonial America, right? So like those are different, and I'm not saying it's any better. I'm saying that like we learned a lot from what happened during the reservation era, because those people are stuck there. They have to make
That's
do.
all they got.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's bad, but that's what happened. I don't know what I would do if I was put into like a fucking
box like that
Athabaskan area or whatever. You know, like some place that we had no idea what to do, and then we just have to make do. That's the thing. And in some ways we were able to retain some dignity and some land, but like it doesn't mean that it fixed all the problems. And I'm not saying it's an end all be all or save all. Like there's obviously things that need to be revised and revisited and stuff, those kinds of things. But it was a good move at the time for Alaska Native people because of what it secured for us into the future. And you know, and that can't be said for every Native person either. I don't represent.
Well, they gave you guys all the choice.
Sure, everybody has their own opinion on that. Yeah.
Well, even some tribes like Atna, they chose not to, right? They chose not to enter into that settlement act, and so they got a different like deal. So there's different, like everyone. I think the one thing that is legitimate is that they gave you guys some sort of choice, right? I think. To decide, like, do you want to be a part of this or do you not want to be a part of this?
Regional decision.
This is what you get if you join this. This is what you don't get if you join this. And people weighed the pros and cons. You know, villages and elders weighed the pros and cons and decided, I guess, at the worst of both evil, like the best of the evils.
The least.
The least of the evils.
This is why AFN was created, was to create a unified voice on behalf of Alaska Native people to advocate for our subsistence, land rights use. It wasn't never about money. It was always about maintaining our way of life and not having things change dramatically, even though things change dramatically anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why AFN was created, was to create a unified voice
to have power in numbers,
the government and to the state, to be like, hey, this is what we're advocating for, and it ended up being very successful, and that's why we have AFN convention every year, is to bring awareness to the issues that Alaska Native people are seeing and, you know, are confronting, and bring those to our leaders, statewide and federal.
Yep.
Do you see after these conferences? I imagine year after year, there's like things that are repetitive in terms of like, we need to change this and there hasn't been any movement? Or do you see anything like really shift after these gatherings, these meetings? Like, is there anything like that stands out to you?
To be honest, I wasn't, and I still haven't.
I mean, just maybe in just the chatter.
I mean, I'm not a huge policy person.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm working at AFN, but like I enjoy and love media and culture, and like even
maybe
when
that's
I was
more or less where the question's coming from, is like the hearsay part.
From villages and stuff.
Yeah, like the chatter.
Well, definitely, and what's interesting though within the last few years is 2 corporations had exited AFN.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big deal.
The first, and it had never really happened before, and I remember it was strange and weird. ASRC and I think TCC, Tanana Chiefs Conference from the Interior, had both. Maybe they haven't made it official yet, so maybe you should take that part out. I don't think they have made it official.
Is that the cut? We haven't had a cut in a while, Alice.
ASRC, I'm sorry. ASRC
Alice, it's okay not to know everything about everything.
Yeah, we wouldn't expect you to be the full. Yeah. No pressure here.
I mean.
Well, what this does is it opens someone to be like, oh, actually, and they'll message you, and like we can.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not professional. We don't know. Expect to know everything and don't expect you to know everything. I know there's a lot of like conversations of all this stuff that's happening right here, and it's like we're just talking about it. Anybody that's listening, like, we are not the professionals on this. We are just discussing it.
We're having an open conversation, and it's going awesome.
Yeah.
For the record,
I'm learning a ton.
Yeah, this is
I really
beautiful.
appreciate it.
We need to take a quick break.
I was thinking so after that.
I really got to pee. I want to come back. Okay. And the topic I want to come back with is tattoos.
Oh, there we go.
The Treehouse AK, your one-stop dispensary located at 341 Boniface Parkway. Be sure to ask the bud tender about their deal of the day, because honestly, there's always something good on deck. And guys, listen, this is where the culture lives. At the Treehouse, their dedication to servicing consumers has been developed through a lifetime of involvement in the cannabis culture. They're committed to providing the highest quality products at whatever value your budget affords, while always maintaining the deep-rooted principles that have carried them this far. Their focus is on relationships over transactions, and you can always depend on them to treat you with the respect you deserve. Hit them up at thetreehouseak.com, and remember, you must be 21 years of age to enter their store.
Tailored Restoration, 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Tailored has an emergency response number with trained professionals available to help you at any time, day or night. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Make an appointment today at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Since 2008, Serrano's is Anchorage's own new generation of old cocina. Their menu showcases the passion and love of their rich heritage and unique family recipes that have been passed down through the generations. Serrano's goal is to embrace and display trad flavors using the best ingredients that are available. They focus on making everything from scratch daily. In-house menu includes handcrafted corn tortillas, salsas, carne asada, and chorizo. But don't take their word for it. Experience their tradition and sabor for yourself. Locations on Tudor and Northern Lights, both with new tequila bars. Check out their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
The Connoisseur Lounge, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. The Connoisseur Lounge is Palmer's first locally owned and operated cannabis retailer. Their beautiful store is located at 226 Evergreen Avenue. The Connoisseur Lounge has exclusive cannabis products such as Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, Super Glue, and one of our favorites, Sugar Cookies. And if you're not into the flower, the Connoisseur can hook you up with edibles, vape supplies, and a ton of CBD options for all your health and inflammation needs. Check out their daily deals at theconnoisseurlounge.net, or even better, stop by the lounge today. Remember, you must be 21 years of age to enter their store.
Yeah, no, we're thinking maybe that's...
All right, we're back. Hold on.
Got a freshie? I think I'm almost out. Alice, how you doing over there?
I got another one.
Yeah, crack it open.
Damn.
Radio check.
Yes, please, Chad. I'll do a King Street.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I listened to
The IPA.
I don't know if I listened
The old
to
IPA.
or if I read something about when you got your tattoos. I'm very I don't know if I should say this, but I'm weirdly like attracted to Native women's tattoos on their faces. Not like sexually, but like why? Because I know there's a lot of reason there, and there's a lot of meaning, and there's a lot of
Yes, sir.
exactness on why they did what they did and where it's placed and all that stuff. So I'm curious on, the dots that you have, which are beautiful.
Thank you.
And like explain it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm new too. Like my very first podcast episode was on traditional Inuit tattoos. And so I was very much interested myself in like what that meant, what it signified, in the older days and what it means today. And if those things still apply, at that time I was not even interested in receiving any, I don't have any tattoos. Like the only tattoos that I have are on my face. And
Way to start.
I know. I was like, straight to the face.
Straight Post Malone.
Straight to the face.
It's like, can't miss these.
Straight Post Malone. So I was like, I was super nervous about it. But after learning, a little bit more from that podcast episode, and then like hanging out with Holly Nordlum, who's amazing, I just felt like it was the right move for me. So I was, working a job that I was struggling with. I think I didn't feel like I understood or felt like I belonged in this position.
Yeah.
And I had just like had a kind of a mental breakdown, and I was just like, I quit. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, what was I thinking? I even like to have that job, I took like, a pay cut.
Was it Subway?
No.
Because I felt the same way when I
Subway.
worked at Subway when I was 16.
Slinging Sammy's, dude?
No.
The sandwich artist. Didn't I give you guys the U-boat cut the other day? Was that you?
No, we didn't
Sorry,
have any
way off
What's
topic.
a U-boat cut?
Okay, back in the day when I
old
worked first at
Subway.
Subway when I was like 15, my first like real job, not working for my parents' business. They used
Hot
to
dogs
they
and
used to
sandwiches?
do at Subway. Okay, listen, let me date myself. They used to do the U-boat cut.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm upset that they don't anymore.
Exactly. So I busted that out.
What
oh,
is
you know when
that?
I busted it out with my dad? Okay. So they take there's like a loaf or whatever the bread, and now they cut
a
it in
roll,
half, right?
like a roll.
They cut it in half for the
Okay.
sandwich, right? Back in the day, they used to do it's called the U-boat cut.
Oh, dude, I know
And so
what
they
you're
would
talking
take the
about.
top of the bun,
From top to
they would
top.
take the knife and just cut like a U around it and peel out the center. So then all the meat and all the cheese would sit in like a boat.
Oh.
And then you'd put the top back in. Like that's what we were trained to do.
When you bit into it, it didn't go out the other side of the sandwich.
There was no
Yeah,
dripping.
It didn't
half.
slip out of there. It
Yeah.
It was
stayed in
hell-
the boat.
It was like making your sandwich into a taco.
So you threw away bread though?
No, you
No.
put it on top.
It went on top.
Oh.
It like squished. You like
Yeah.
the sandwich artist
Yes.
would push it
Yes,
back
I am
down,
an
and then it
artist.
would rest back in there. Unless you were like me and you were like, can I get double meat? Because then that thing didn't really want to push down.
I've done
No, well, I
all
just-
day.
The
Still,
U
if-
cut.
Can I get
I'm
twice the
upset that
tuna?
they don't do it because now when you bite into it, everything comes out the
It
other
just
side.
slides out of there and it drips and leaks all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did that when I was with my my dad and my uncles on our hunt.
It pulls up photos of an old U-boat.
I was trying to do. Okay, so right there. So there's an
There it
image
is.
right there.
There
The
it
OG
Boom.
sandwich cut. That was how you used to
Shit.
do it. That's how I was trained.
literally says the OG sandwich cut too. The OG Subway sandwich cut.
That's the best way to make a sandwich.
That's literally off of Daniel's Reddit account. He's like, remember when I was an artist?
Yeah.
Shoot, I
I used to
had
be
it.
an artist, yo.
What?
Okay, just
My
blew your
mind is
mind.
blown right
Okay,
now.
so there you go.
God, we're old.
That's
bro.
like the best
Well,
sandwich.
there was a
Not that
Subway
old.
up there, wasn't there?
Not in Utqiagvik. There's
No?
one in Nome now, I believe. Oh, and there
Out
is
of all
one.
places, they would have one.
No, I don't. They might have one now, but I didn't see it.
Well, it's crazy they had a McDonald's in Adak. Did you know that?
That's
I
wild.
know that because I listened to
clearly
that
for
podcast.
PR. That was clearly just
Was-
like, we have a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
that
There's
was
a society
that was because it was
here.
a base.
Yeah, there was.
I'm loving it.
That's because it was a base. There's a McDonald's on
No,
every
they didn't.
base.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, we rabbit hole
We
on the
was talking
sandwiches.
tattoos.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like if you look at the picture there, this beautiful lady, she has almost a similar tattoo as you do, and I see traditionally you see the chin ones, and you see the cheek ones like you have, and maybe the forehead,
she has the chin
the
ones too,
forehead like triangle. Have you done like the research on like what these mean and stuff like that?
I know a little bit.
least what you got.
I know
Yeah.
a little bit. So I know that in some places in the circumpolar Arctic, the forehead ones, they're called the Qannik tattoo. I don't know what those are for though, but I think they're.
What they mean.
I mean, Qannik refers to the sun.
Okay.
So that's something I don't know. I don't know the story about that. Okay, so that's one. The chin tattoos, at least from where I'm from, regionally in Utqiagvik, I've known them to reflect like position. If you're married, if you're of age, you know, like if you're, I don't know. I know it's like a rite of passage kind of thing, and then
It's a representation mark of like
yeah,
where you rank, kind of.
Is there
not rank, but like
Yeah, it's probably
you a
not the right
woman?
word.
if you're a woman,
Okay, are you-
menstruating-
Well,
Are you-
you're not
yeah,
allowed to
are you
ask that
mature?
anymore, Alice.
I know. It's 2022. But
There's no more stewardess.
traditionally speaking, it means whatever it means for each woman now. It's very personal now. You know what I mean? Like it obviously means something community wise, but also what I've learned in the process of reclaiming and revitalizing the tradition of hand poke tattoos and bringing back those, because these were gone, you know, for a long time because of the missionization of Alaska and, you know, Western expansion and colonialism or whatever you want to call it. Like they disappeared because mostly because of religion and, you know, your body's sacred or whatever. So don't.
Oh, the Lord's temple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. You're going to hell, Chad.
And so it's like,
see you there?
You got eyeballs on your arm, bro.
See you there, bro.
I'll be down there with a cold caribou call.
I already had this conversation with my sister, who's
Even
very
down there, it's
religious.
still cold.
so I mean, like, and I feel like those are some
I lived in
influences in
Arizona.
my life too. Like, I don't know, like my parents weren't really about that, and they don't have tattoos, and so I wasn't really about it anyways. But so I know the cheek tattoos, they aren't like specific to my region, but they are specific to Inuit people of the circumpolar north. From what I learned from Holly is that they were known to like ward off evil spirits and to promote fertility, which is funny. And then there's one other thing. I can't remember what the third one was. But that's like traditionally speaking, you know what I mean? And it's funny because like at the time I got them, everyone who knew me like knew that I'm not trying to have kids at all. I'm like, you know, you know, like I was like,
It wasn't
no
about
way.
that.
No, yeah. And
They look great, though.
thank you. Yeah,
they do.
I
Did you do them
appreciate
traditionally?
I did. Yeah, I had Holly
Tapped in?
She did traditional hand poke.
What's the
That hurt.
what's the ink used? Like, what's the process there?
I don't know. I mean, traditionally, I know what she explained it to me traditionally, what it's supposed to be. And it wasn't that, though, obviously. You have to adhere to some kind of regulations now in order
Yeah.
to have, like,
Oh, yeah,
be a
of
tattoo
course.
artist.
Yeah, health stuff.
Yeah. Which I understand, but also, like, she was, at the time, I remember she was trying to, like, break through some of those because, you know, these aren't,
To return back to, like, the true way.
yeah. So,
With freedom of religion, you should be able to do whatever you want.
I agree.
Yeah.
In theory, right?
Yeah, in theory. But yeah, so Holly, I just met up with her, and like I said, I was going through a really hard time, like trying to figure out what I was doing, who I was doing it for, like my life. You know, I was like my job, and then I had just started the podcast, and I was kind of feeling like, I don't know if you guys had this, but like your first couple of episodes, they're kind of scary,
It's garbage.
right?
Well, it's just
Well, I wouldn't say
nerve-wracking.
garbage, but you're
Yeah.
so nervous. You don't know. You're like trying to figure out where you're going with this thing.
And then like how people are receiving it. I don't know if you guys felt this, but like I was like, I was immediately prepared to get canceled because I was like, people are not going to be willing to listen to what I have to say. And like, who am I to speak on behalf of my community kind of thing? I was terrified. And so like, at first, you know, you're just kind of like posting shit and you're like, no one's going to listen. Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, like, I was like seeing I had like hundreds of listens.
People are commenting now.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, people are actually listening. Oh no, you know, like I got to do everything right. And then so I was just kind of having like this identity crisis, I think, in terms of what I was doing, who I was doing it for. Was I talking to an Inupiaq or Inuit audience?
Oh, the pressure started building up a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I could see that.
I mean,
yeah, but in your case, I could see why.
Oh,
because
100%.
now it's
There's
like, oh shit,
you know?
yeah. There's like a lot.
But you also have a responsibility to do dope shit and be the young person.
True.
That's
For
right.
the people
Yeah.
that are your age and below you.
Whenever you're having that feeling, you need to read your motto. And just
Well,
be
I mean,
like,
now
nope,
that
just
for
doing
sure.
dope shit.
I mean, I know that now. That's the thing is like, this is just me getting started. This is like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
You
was
broke through
nervous
that.
as fuck.
Yeah.
And so I was just having like a little bit of an identity crisis, and I quit my job. I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I'm going to do the podcast full time, and just being crazy. And I was like, I want to learn more about the cheek tattoos. And so I met up with Holly, and I got them done, and it took 20 minutes max. You know, they're just dots. It's not going to take a long time.
Still don't feel good.
Strategically placed.
And I literally felt, I was like, this is why people get tattoos. I was like, holy cow, like this is, I feel light. I feel, like it felt therapeutic. It felt like it really did something like physically and emotionally that I was able to let things go and to just like really focus on my goals. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And I had my best friend accompany me, Margaret Alice. And
Did she hold your hand?
no, that's
Okay, good.
weird, but
It's like, oh,
we're not like that.
Wait,
Like,
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that bad, actually. Hold on.
No,
I'm
we
fine.
were like just listening to Holly tell stories the whole time, you know. And Holly's like
bet it was a cool
literal
experience.
medicine. Like she is like the ultimate auntie, you know what I mean? And she could understand how I was feeling. I know that she could like when she saw me, she knew like she adjusted the way that she spoke and hung out and like I know that she knew that I was going through a hard time without even me having to say it. You know what I mean?
She
It was
could
like
feel
that
it.
kind of connection with Holly. Yeah. And then Holly also did my mom's. My mom has tattoos on her wrists, and I think she got them. I can't remember if she got them done before or after. It might have been after, but
Like that late in her life?
yeah.
Good for her.
I know. Like my mom,
might
after
inspire
the
her.
divorce, you know what I mean?
Oh, shit. She's trying to get out on the streets.
She's living her life.
Hey,
Living
there's
my best
nothing,
life.
there's nothing wrong with
Living my
Spruce
best
it
life.
up.
nothing wrong with change
Yep,
and
trying
doing
to
things
find
a little
herself
different,
again.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta let loose.
No, I mean, so me and Jacqui have we have another podcast that we're working. So I don't know if I told you guys, but I do Coffee and Quaq, right? And then Alaskan Natives on the Front Line is another one, and then Resolve, which is a podcast about missing and murdered Indigenous women in collaboration with Affinity Films, which is a local nonprofit media organization here in town. And then me and Jacqui, who's part of Native Time, right? We're planning to do another one called Cocktails and Quaq, which is kind of a play off of Coffee and Quaq, but Quaq is the Inupiaq word for weed.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
shit.
Shout out to the
cocktails
Treehouse and the
and
Connoisseur.
marijuana.
AKO.
You need a sponsor?
We might get you guys. If you need a sponsor, we know
need
some
a
people.
sponsor.
We got a couple of
Someone's
them.
got to
need
pay
a
for this
sponsor.
stuff.
It's true. But yeah, so that's one of our topics that we have is tattoos, because Jacqui has a lot of traditional tattoos, more than me. I only have the ones that are on my face. Sorry, I keep knocking the mic. But she has birthing tattoos and then Sedna tattoo. I don't know the Inupiaq word. My
Like
sister was like,
fingered
stop
ones?
calling them Sedna because that's not what we call her. That's like the white version, but like it's the sea goddess, Inupiaq sea goddess,
lines.
Inuit sea goddess on your fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna ask. Is the placement of the tattoos? Is that like a Athabaskan to Inuit to Haida to Tlingit? Does that
From what I understand, for which one? I mean, it depends.
Because I know, so one of my good friends, his wife is, her family's from Cordova, and she's got the traditional tattoos on her hands.
Excuse me. Yeah, those. So those from what I understand, those are, Sedna tattoos, which is the Inuit sea goddess, and I think that's pretty much coastal.
Which makes sense for Cordova.
Coastal
Yeah, it makes sense.
I thought it was specific to Inuit, but I mean that doesn't mean that Inuit people didn't make their way to.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if things were like specific to Inuit, Athabaskan, Tlingit, Haida, all of it.
There might be. I don't know for sure. I know the story of Sedna. I learned it. It's kind of a morbid story. I mean, all Inuit stories are kind of morbid, but so the story of Sedna is that she was a beautiful young woman. Her dad had assigned her to marry someone from some clan. She refused, and she was like so defiant that she was like, "I'll marry my dog. I'll marry anyone except this guy," or whatever. Like she was so defiant. So there's different variations of this story, but he was so mad that he brought her out on a boat and dumped her overboard and tried to drown her. And when she tried to come back up into the boat to grab on, he cut her fingers off so that she couldn't get into the boat. Yeah. So
Her dad or the guy she was supposed to marry?
her dad, because she disobeyed him or whatever.
So that's the line.
That's a horrible story.
And well, that's not the end. So she sank down to the bottom. She became
She said it was morbid,
a
dude.
sea goddess. Yeah, and then her fingers became all the marine mammals and fish that we eat and subsist off of. So, so she controls the sea.
Spoke too soon.
So whenever you want to have a successful hunt, on the ocean, you have to appease to Sedna, the sea goddess, and brush her hair. Because she doesn't have hands to brush her own hair. So you'll go brush her hair, and then she'll make the seas calm for you so that her sea goddess animals
You can harvest them.
Alice,
Yeah.
you have to explore these topics on some sort of podcast. You have to tell these stories.
Yeah.
Or
feel
if not in your voice, maybe an elder's voice or your grandma's voice or someone's voice that has like some raspy deepness to it and is a really good storyteller that could just like tell the story of that.
All these stories would be such a cool thing to like
Patreon.
I would fully
Get that
listen
money.
to those, man.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not my.
I mean, not that. I mean, just in case you have a little bit of room on your plate.
Yeah. When you come back from being an astronaut.
Yeah. I mean, it's also weird too because it's like I don't own these stories. You know what I mean? And it's weird to
but they need to be told.
No way.
I get it, and maybe that's the work to do it, and you can get paid for the work, but it's also like it's not my.
Then donate
ownership.
part of it.
Or
I mean, I get where you're going with that. Like, you don't want to be paid for someone else's. I get it, but the story has to get out there, and in order for it to get out there, somebody's gonna make money off of it. Probably. I mean, that's just the way the world works.
Yeah,
so, like,
true.
but you can't let they're cool stories.
It could be an AFM thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like unrelated to you, where it's like it broadens the whole brush, where you can just have anyone tell a story, and just like donate their story.
Well, here's the thing: is like these stories are known, and we tell these stories.
Yeah, but they're known to you guys.
Communities.
Yeah,
but they're not known to the world.
Yeah.
That's important, isn't it?
Well, there's probably different versions,
but it's
too,
also
right?
like, do you tell people where your best berry patch is all the time? Like, no, because people are going to come from everywhere to go to that berry patch. And to be honest, let's be real. All of our stories, knowledges, histories, those things have always been taken advantage of and exploited for monetary things that we don't ever benefit from.
I know. So this is your way of taking that back and giving that money to the people who.
Is it your way of me taking it back, or is it my way of taking things back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand.
Like, you're not so sure you want to be part of that.
I don't know
But would
if I
you
want
be
to
upset-
participate.
That's
way.
what I mean by that.
Well, if someone else did it, would you be upset or would you be proud?
I wouldn't be happy about it, but I mean, if I'm also an advocate for education, you know what I mean? I want everyone to understand who we are as people, but I don't want it to be exploited, but that's a fine line. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's you either open it or you don't. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Exploited is a very I get what you're saying, but like from my perspective, because I'm not ever going to know that story. And I think it's an important story.
But also, I see her point where that she's like, this story's not for you, it's for us.
No, I get that part of it. But there's a lot of power in story.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you know, some things that are so sacred have to be shared because the importance outweighs the weight sacredness. Mm-hmm. Because it's something like
but
people can learn. I understand, and
it would take someone to feel convicted to do that as well.
Yeah, I don't want it. I would never want anyone to feel exploited for.
And maybe this isn't the right time.
Yeah,
like in the era of things.
Yeah,
for that to finally be said.
Yeah, I'm not opposed. I'll be honest with you. I'm not opposed, and I also feel and share the same sentiment as you, but I know that when I'm speaking, I'm not speaking just for myself all the time. I have to be cognizant of my community at some times.
Yes, so you don't tell the story. You allow the people who want to tell the story.
I tell my understanding of the story here on your podcast, and you guys heard it here. Yeah. And that's great, right? And that's enough for me. I don't feel like it's important. I don't feel like it's my place to do that. I don't even have them. So like, why would I share that story? You know what I mean? Like, that's not my personal story to tell. That's why I really love hanging out with Jacqui, because Jacqui's got birthing tattoos, the finger tattoos, and she's even got like stitch tattoos, which is dope.
Wow.
And so she speaks on behalf of herself and what she understands, not even just from an Alaskan perspective, but from, you know, like she's visited other Inuit countries, which is dope. And I mean, I even considered, like, on my way here, I was like, dang, man, how cool would it be to have Jacqui with me during this part of, you know, like this.
Well, next time you bring her in.
Maybe. I mean, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Would she be down?
Oh, my God. She would talk your ear off.
And bring your dad, because I want to hear the damn stories.
Oh, dang.
I'm not giving up yet.
Well, I'm
not giving up.
We talk a lot in this podcast, so stories and...
Yeah.
Well, that's
I just love stories. And I love stories that have, like...
I hear you.
Conviction and something to learn out of them. Like, it's so I think it's like it's not done enough anymore because people don't. We live in a society where like everything is such instant and gratification. Like, it's all like convenience and
it's a flash in the
I don't know.
pan,
I'm
too,
old.
You know?
I remember when gas stations were just fucking gas stations. Like, you got gas and oil and spark plugs. You didn't get tampons and fucking Doritos and a Slurpee and
condoms,
medicine and like
dang.
It's completely just
you can get those there.
Convenience. Yeah, it's a convenience store now. It's not a gas station.
Yeah,
and like
it's,
you know what I mean.
Like a mini Sears. Yeah,
I don't know. So I like stories.
I know. Selfishly, I agree with you that you just want to just like.
But I understand where you're coming from too. I completely do.
You don't want to,
and I would definitely not want
to expose it.
I wouldn't want something exploited. But like, I think it could be done in a way where.
Well, there's a difference between exploitation and education.
Yeah.
And passing on things.
Yeah.
But you know that's for you to figure out, I guess, or not, or someone else.
I think the biggest issue with that is. I mean, none of us have issue with sharing story and spreading information and things like that. The biggest issue is that we're still coming to figure those things out ourselves, that it's extra work to teach people at the same time. Because like Holly was probably, you know, one of the first people to revitalize traditional Inuit tattooing.
Yeah, that's definitely a newer,
right?
bigger resurgence.
That wasn't something like 15, 20 years
No,
ago, right?
definitely
like
not.
That was, even Native women weren't even feeling empowered enough to do those kinds of things. You know what I mean?
To be perfectly honest, I don't even recall like seeing pictures of
Right.
it.
My grandmother,
No,
my
not
great
really.
grandmother has. I mean, I know in pictures, like this was on the early onset, probably the 40s and the 50s of missionization, colonization of Alaska. So, I mean, it's in that time that women still had those tattoos, but like in this age, people are still trying to learn what those things mean, what the markings mean. And to share about them is weird because it's also like we're not experts, But why aren't we? Because I'm an Inupiaq woman, That's my culture. That's what I've grown up with. I've grown up in an Inupiaq community. I have Inuit tattoos. Why can't I speak on behalf of my tattoos as an Inupiaq woman? I'm contemporary, yes, but it doesn't mean is it any less traditional just because I live in 2022? You know what I mean?
Well, you can speak on yours for sure because they're yours.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I feel you. I feel you in that because obviously you can tell like I love it and I love the meaning behind it. But I have I have avoided, and I go to Hawaii now. Like that's my tattoo artist is in Hawaii, and I have always wanted and love like traditional Hawaiian tattoo, and he would do it on me, and there's a lot of meaning in it, and it's all like it's a story, but like I won't do it because I'm not Hawaiian, I'm not Polynesian. Like I have a love affair with Hawaii, and I think like Alaska has a huge relationship with Hawaii. Like I think like we're kind of like brothers in this America, right? But I won't, and sometimes like I get a little judgy when I see like a dude that's not Hawaiian and he's got a Hawaiian tattoo, and I'm kind of like,
What is that supposed to mean? Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, do you even know what?
Well, how do you know he's not Hawaiian?
Because if you're whiter than me, bro, you ain't Hawaiian.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, you're
white
not
boy Hawaiians.
You're not Polynesian.
Okay.
Like you might be there.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I get it. And I get it. And I could be, like I said, I'm being super judgy on it.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I have avoided it, even though I would love to have it because I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a story.
Yeah. There's tradition
But
and everything.
I wouldn't do it. So like,
I don't judge anyone. I'm not like a huge advocate one way or the other just because like I did a podcast episode about appropriation versus inspiration. And
I listened to a little bit of that. Like that's
it was good,
Yeah,
you know?
no, I
but it's
mean-
also like there's no definitive line, and that's
No.
what bothers me too, between like creative art and also inspiration. And
well, it's getting thrown around and pretty brutally these days.
it's really
too.
fucked up. And I don't agree with obviously I don't agree with appropriation, but like I'm not at a place in my career I feel like that I could call people out like professionally to be like, I'm an artist and this is what I believe is appropriation. And like I'm not the appropriation police. I was like, man, I'm just not gonna buy it. You know what I mean? Like that's fucked up. Like
Yeah.
there's
It's as
Ulus
easy
at the
as that.
store and they're like dumb and not real. Like, come on. Like it's not new. I completely support other artists that want to take on that role or like, wish to do it. But that's not something I choose to spend my energy in. You know what I mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it
too
happened recently in
much.
like even like style, fashion,
Yeah.
where there was a big thing that happened where they felt like Alaska Native cultures were being appropriated with the cuspic and things like that, which I could see that, you know what I'm saying? I have no
I do think
way
that was
either way.
Let's be real. I do think that was tone deaf. If you're gonna sell a cuspuk looking style that you got from another place or wherever, and it looks like an Alaska Native cuspuk, when there are Alaska Native artists here selling that design already,
Yeah.
it was tone deaf at the very least.
What'd you think about the apology?
I thought it was it was weird that they started turning comments off. So I was keeping up with it. Okay, so I already know a little bit about it. They turned the comments off, which was kind of a little bit like shutting people down, and they couldn't say their piece or whatever.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I'm ignorant on this whole thing. What?
Well, basically, without naming the company, basically an Alaskan company that makes fashion items for women created an item that was very, very much like
a big Alaskan company.
Yeah.
Reminiscent of the classic cuss book.
Probably the biggest.
Yeah. Well, we're not gonna name names because I don't want to get blown up in the shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there was some sort of drama with people saying, well, you're copying our things and you're not giving credit to the people that actually created this thing. And so from there, it just like blew up, and they issued a like 3-page apology. And they ended up donating the money from the proceeds to something they felt was appropriate.
Choice,
and the comments were insane. Like, it was like crazy. And,
Like
and I went deep in it, and I started reading everything, and I was just like, you know, just seeing what people's opinions were about it.
People get out of control with this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
people trying to get. I mean, I don't.
It's part of that cancel thing. That's happening.
I mean, you know the Asian girl,
You know?
Aquafina or whatever. I think it's her like hip hop name. She changed her name to it. She's like a rapper, but she's an actress, and she got like caught up in that.
You know, you can see two sides of it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, let's say that you know, like you're wearing a flannel. We're not giving credit to
Lumberjacks
or whoever invented the flannel. You
Where's
know what
your
I'm saying?
chainsaw?
Or you're wearing the you know, like, obviously you're very big in style. You're very big in fashion. You have
It gets carried
wonderful
away.
fashion and style. And I think a lot of times you take pieces from this area or this place or this culture because you want to be unique. You know, and so that's unique to
or you want to fit in.
Yeah. For example, like the bandana. Like, the bandana is a cowboy thing, and it's also a gang thing. You know what I'm saying? And she's rocking it as an Alaska Native woman in Alaska,
Or a soldier thing.
or a soldier thing. So I mean, there was a lot of good.
looks
There was a
fresh,
lot
though.
of comments on there that made you be like, oh, okay, I can see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying, but you know, who's right in the conversation? I don't know.
Do you think it was like just harmless, and they were like, hey, this would be cool to like come up with this thing and like this style, and it's like Alaska Native like culture-y, and they thought it would just be this hot sell? Do you think there was like, do you think it was just harmless and it just backfired really bad?
I'll tell you what I think. I think that if there
Because they are beautiful.
I think if
and
there
it
was
looks
credit,
awesome.
if it was credited from the beginning, there wouldn't have been an issue.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Or maybe there was like some
Because I get these things where, like, for example, I posted the picture of our last podcast, and someone on YouTube was like, you didn't give the photo person cred. And I was like, well, I thought the person that gave me the picture took the picture. I didn't know that it was someone else that took the picture, and they bought it from them. Like, how would I know that? Like, sorry, I didn't do the third step.
oh, the photo was from a customer or a,
Yeah,
or
probably,
a guest or something.
probably. And I just was like, well, I didn't even respond.
But this wasn't the third step. Like you're
No, I'm saying my point, my thing.
Okay.
But this is like deeper
Way
and
bigger.
bigger.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious on, like, someone like you who's super into style, super into fashion, and you see these things like
And tradition, right?
That's got to be a tiptoey line on both sides.
Exactly. No, I completely agree because I why would you want anything stifling creativity, right? And inspiration can come from anywhere. That being said, I didn't have a visceral reaction like many of, like my friends and counterparts have against what we were talking about in this, design or whatever, resembling a cuspbuck. I was just like, typical, I was like in the sense, like I had resignation kind of thing. Like I was like, it happens all the time, Eddie, I'm over it.
Well, that's a great answer.
But how does it not? How do you avoid it? Like an original design it's only original once.
Yeah.
And we're
But
thousands of years into existence. Like,
But let's
is
talk-
there really an original thought or design anymore?
But like, if you're a company that thrives in Alaska, don't you think you would understand who you're selling to, right? And who lives here in Alaska?
Well, was I correct on the credit thing? Like, if that credit was given,
Or,
If-
or
well, here's
there
the-
was given permission maybe before it was like.
I think if they
thrown
had
out
worked
there.
with an Alaska Native person, even
yeah.
like just to be like, okay,
To
well, we
design
worked with,
There was like some more credibility behind the.
yeah, to be like, okay,
Yeah.
Was it a shitty version?
and that's almost like just lip service.
was it a shitty version
you know?
though?
Yeah.
It's almost like lip service, which I don't really think is like a great thing either. But I mean, but for some, also this is about power. You know what I mean? This is about power and economy and money, right? And so, what are we really visiting here? We're really visiting, you know, somebody who has a lot of pull and power and money in Alaska, profiting off of Alaska Native, basically Alaska Native designs. Let's be real. I mean, and it's not to say that it's unique, but like that's your target audience. Okay, number one, and like tourists, right? And see, I can't be surface. Like this is just like too deep. This is my problem. Like this is why I'm a podcaster. I get so deep into things, and I'm getting deep into another thing. We're just trying to talk about tattoos earlier. Like
Yeah.
keep it surface. Like
Well, we just shifted
now
like
we're talking
fashion.
about like
we shifted to
this
fashion.
is a lot.
And, yeah. But
Yeah.
And I don't want to put anyone down or like call anyone out because I'm not about call out culture. I think it's like about education and it's really just about like learning from one another. I'm really not like
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot about it,
Ways.
but I just felt that you would have a good answer as being someone that's kind of in step with both sides. Like
Yeah.
you're into social media and you're into the young people and the millennials and the style and everything that's
Contemporary.
happening.
Yeah,
And
it's
you
fun.
have one foot in with your culture as well and your elders, and you know how they feel and how and everyone in from your family feels. And it's like, so that's what led me to ask, like, what is Alice's question? Not
Okay.
to speak from
you
everyone,
have to represent everybody's
but
opinion.
like specifically, and you
Personally-
kind of answered it. You're like, oh, whatever, this happens all the time.
no, but personally, I feel like they're stealing from aunties. Like this is like people make a livelihood
That's understood.
just making that kind of garment, you know what I mean? And it's something that I feel like, and it's not like unique to Alaska, but let's be real, like it's something that Alaska
is,
Native
yeah.
people have used. And I know that it is part of our culture for thousands of years too. Like it was like protection from mosquitoes it wasn't even like for show, it was for working. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it was a
working.
garment that was designed for a purpose.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I personally think it's literally just fucking stealing from my aunties and people that make things for a living. And that's not new though. That's the thing is like, should we call out only them
Yeah,
or
yeah.
everyone else?
But it's almost
like,
unavoidable.
But if you're going to be an Alaska-based organization and catering to Alaskans about that, like that's where it feels wrong. You know, like I'm very liberal, like, okay, I get it. Like maybe they made a mistake, maybe this, maybe that. Okay. But like what really makes me emotional about it is that they're really literally stealing from and charging a whole lot more than maybe they would even charge, you know. It's just
Well, what about this?
Yeah,
What about?
me
Let me ask you
It's
this.
such a good
That's me
answer.
personally.
Thank you for
No, that
a
was
very,
great.
very, very
that's it.
straightforward answer on that.
Before we move on, moving forward, if there's another Alaskan company that is going to maybe embrace something that is naturally or historically Alaska Native,
Yeah.
what is the right approach?
Work with an Alaska Native artist.
Boom.
People will respect you 100%. They were like, oh, dang, so-and-so helped with this. Like, let's buy it. Literally. And
Okay.
that's it. You know, it's not.
It has like an official collaboration with this like
Yeah.
original artist.
Yeah.
So it's
A
got to be
recognition.
legit. Yeah.
Maybe could go the other way too.
Yeah.
Other way to who or
What do you mean?
where?
What do you mean?
I mean, some part of the community could be like, now they're on that artist. Like, you're a sellout.
Oh, I see.
Right. Like, I mean, there's just always going to be.
That's what I'm saying. You can't.
Some bullshit.
Well, you can't please everyone.
Well,
all the
you
time.
can't, and you can't like.
No, but I think
Everything's already been done. Other than space travel and shit like that, that's like revolutionary. As far as art, like it's all been done, and all fashion wasn't fashion in the beginning.
I don't.
It
agree.
was like
I don't agree.
Like you needed it. Clothing was because you needed it. It wasn't.
Well, that's the thing. They're taking
the
this.
cusp.
They're taking this need of a thing that was meant for work and for survival, and creating a fashion item out of it without appropriate credit, and then
monetizing it with
monetizing off of it.
I get that, but who like? How are you? Who is the originator?
The antis.
Which one?
No, you don't credit one person. Like, it's not a one person kind of thing. And so if you listen to the podcast episode,
But
with
that
Melissa
one person who created it they feel differently.
Well,
They're gonna feel like,
that goes way
I know, but
back.
that's what I'm saying. That's the line that you're balancing with anything that's art.
Yeah.
Is that you are like, I don't give a fuck. Every beat that's made from here until the rest of time has already been made.
Yeah.
It's been done.
I mean, I agree with like
Yeah,
something
but
like a beat, but like I don't agree with the way you're saying like anything in art is not original anymore. I don't think so. I think that there's new ways of, things. And maybe people are just trying to find things that
But
aren't
nothing is
original or whatever.
100% new. It's all inspired. Is
I get
what I'm
it.
saying.
No, I hear that, and I feel that way too. But I don't think that like there's not new ways of reimagining things or whatever. And I do think this is not like worldly. We're not talking about like the world at this moment in time about this like specific thing. I agree with you 100%. Like me, yes. There's a lot of different things that are inspired from everywhere, and it's a big, huge thing. But, like, this specific thing, I think, was just a little bit too much on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not talking like I don't even know about this whole thing. Like I don't know who did it. I don't know, like, so I'm way more generalizing and a broader brush here for sure. But I'm just saying, like, there's a fine line with all of this stuff, and I think like people get attacked for, like, I mean, if I took my shirt off right now, you could culturally appropriate me. I have native art tattoos my whole back.
I think the same idea
I'm not native.
The same idea that you feel
I just love Alaska.
Having a Polynesian tattoo on you is similar to the same idea that she has with these people creating this piece of fashion. Am I correct in that? Like somewhat similar to there?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, I don't do the Hawaiian thing because, like, I don't live in Hawaii. I wasn't born in Alaska.
Yeah.
My whole back is Alaskan tattoos.
Yeah.
I have a Tlingit raven. I have a bear, a beaver, a wolf.
Do you have any old man's beard?
Nope, but that's coming next.
I mean, witch's hair or angel hair.
Hey, you gotta have. You never know when you're gonna need some fire starter. I can grow that old man's beard.
Yeah. Alice, what's your favorite quaq?
My favorite quaq, I love quaq, which is caribou meat dipped in misrach, which is seal oil, with a little bit of soy sauce.
So it's like extra salty, huh?
Well, I mean, if it's dipped in misrach, it's like dripped in fat, so seal oil, and
it's
like
already kind of salty, right?
No,
it's frozen raw. There's no.
It's regular meat. It's literally just a
Does it
slab
come
of
from
meat.
a certain?
No.
He means the seal oil.
I meant the seal oil
No.
is
No,
salty.
You
it's
never
not
had seal
salty.
oil?
I thought
No, it ain't salty.
I'll bring seal oil next time I come. It's
Yeah.
not salty at all.
It's
It's
not salty.
very mild. It's,
Okay.
It's like a oil. It's like a olive oil.
It's stinky,
Okay.
but the way
Not
that it
really.
I
tastes,
don't know if it's quite olive oil.
I'm saying, like, I've had it lots of times.
I've had it.
And
if it's fresh,
yes, if it's fresh, it tastes like nothing.
it literally tastes like.
Oh, it's just like clean?
I'm out and
It's just like a moisturizer for whatever
Fresh
you're
version.
eating.
reconstituted It smells. It definitely smells. So I know what you're saying about like maybe if it, you have some kind
I
of
had seal fat
taste.
and seal intestine.
Where though?
Where was that?
Cars, Aurora.
Definitely not. No,
that wasn't seal oil.
Yeah. It's not sushi, bro.
That was a different kind
it
of
wasn't. Where was I at? It wasn't Quinnahat.
Well, so what I understand is that some communities, the way they render seal oil out of the fat or whatever is different. And I know on the North Slope, the seals on the North Slope you can just render them straight out.
Well,
of the fat.
their diet's probably different, and that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, and we don't have to cook it to like make it clean or whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's already fine. But like in different places like Southwest and maybe Southeast, they have to boil it, I think, to make sure there's no bugs in it or like
This was-
parasites or
This was
anything.
Southwest.
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
but I'm not sure. I can't speak, but I think that because it tastes very different and it tastes cooked weird. I've had it before from those like from Southwest. And I was like,
I would agree.
And it was yellow, and I was
Yeah.
like, whoa,
It's
that's
not-
weird.
Is it
Like when you
monkey-
get a really good one, like I've had the fishy one, and then I've had one
I had
that's
fish.
like
I had fishy seal oil.
it's
The
like
seal fat.
it's
and
like
the
olive oil.
intestine
There's like
wasn't-
olive oil. It's like
didn't taste bad at
just
all.
like you would like dip a piece of naan bread in olive oil or whatever. I had it with carrots.
okay.
It's nothing. There's no flavor. There's very, very, very,
Mine
very
was
mild.
Sure, it's
definitely
like
fishy.
adding
It
the
wasn't.
soy
It wasn't
sauce
bad,
to
but
give
it
it
was
some
fishy.
saltiness.
And the seal fat in the intestine that I had was not bad. The intestine was definitely like a strong.
Was it cooked?
No,
Seal fat. And
It was raw.
intestine.
yeah, it was a test
From your friend,
for the white boy.
a white boy test.
It was a test.
Yeah, it
those
was
are
no,
tough.
it 100.
They were like, yeah, we eat this all the
It-
time. Why don't you give this a go? Oh,
No,
yeah, hell yeah.
the guy who gave it to me he
Legit.
he definitely eats it.
Okay.
And he was very, very traditional. It was a job that we went for in a village, and the village had just started a corporation, and they had been awarded this job from the federal government to clean up PCBs on this road, and then they didn't have their corporation complete somehow paperwork or whatever wasn't in, so Chemtrack, who I was working for at the time, got asked to bring in and have the job be under our license, contractor's license, but we would allow all the people in the town to perform the work, and we were there as like a mentorship. So it was run under, and so Brock's wife ran Chemtrack, her dad at the time, so she was like, "Hey, it might be a little contemptuous when you get there," and so we got there and had a meeting with the elders. Showed up to the meeting, and it looked like it was going to be heated because they didn't really want us there because they felt like, but they were performing the work and we weren't performing the work. We were just mentoring, which was a weird role. But anyway, we showed up to the meeting and literally, this is
I would have gave you some fucked up oil too.
this is like heyday of AK Soul.
Yeah, have some of this.
So
bud.
two trucks pull up, two trucks rip into the parking lot, and they're like younger kids getting out. They're like 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds. And they are cranking 36 Crazy Fist.
Yeah.
And they're one of them was wearing an AK Soul hoodie. And I was like, well,
Whoa.
they might kill all you white motherfuckers, but I'm fine because they're wearing my hoodie and they're playing my boys' music. And anyway, their lead operator was a guy who was very traditional and a very traditional person in their community, younger kid. And he got frustrated with me telling him how to do, because he was a very good operator, but he didn't know how to dig. Environmentally, it's completely different because you can't just be digging because you're trying to clean up contaminated soil. So you don't want to be removing
the good
you don't want to be mixing it because then you're just creating more shit that's got to get flown out to Oregon and get burnt, right? So anyway, so I'm having to like tell him how I want him to run the equipment. And he got frustrated with me. He was like, how do I even know you can run equipment? Like, you're not doing work. So I was like, you want me to run the equipment? So I ran the equipment. And he was like, oh, okay. And then, so he came over that night and he brought me that.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, I want you to try this. So I tried it. A couple other people tried it. And he was like, okay. And then we were good from then on.
Oh, it was almost like a...
But I went in the next morning and they're like, hey, I heard that he brought you over some, like, what'd you think of it? And I was like, honestly, the taste, not bad at all. But I was like, but mouth, like, you know, it's this big around and it's like solid. I was like, the texture of that much fat in one bite was like, wasn't really into the texture.
Wait, you mean like a blubber? Like a piece of blood? Okay, a blubber piece. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's different.
Yeah,
that
not
definitely
oil.
has taste. Not just the oil.
It wasn't very, like, the taste was fine. It was just like too much fat in your mouthful, you know, like the text. And I was like, so that's what I said.
It's like really spongy.
That's what she said.
But all those kids were like, I was like, I mean, what, do you guys like it? And they're like, I've never eaten that shit. Like, are you kidding me? Seal blubber? Like, that's gross, dude. I was like,
my God.
They're like, he's just testing you. I was like, does he eat it? They're like, oh, he eats it. But we don't eat it. And they were like, it was an awesome experience, to be perfectly honest. Like,
anytime that I've had I work with a lot of teachers. There's a lot of Alaska Native teachers, very proud of their culture. They like to bring in their food. They like to share it with the students. They like to share it with the teachers. And I will never say no.
No.
I've had it many times. There's some things, muktuk things that I've had like 5 times. I still don't like it. I will still try it. I will still eat it. Yeah, I'm not going to be like, no, I've had it before.
I'm not eating the fish.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to be like, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to tell them I don't really like this, but I'm going to eat it. And then, bring them some Colombian shit and be like, I want you to try this.
Yeah.
Here's some hot sauce.
Lengua tacos.
Yeah. No, we got some more shit.
Oh, yeah. Lengua tacos are great. I make those all the time. I got 3 moose tongues in my freezer right now waiting for lengua tacos. But I do break those out on people like unexpectedly, and I don't tell them what it is till afterwards.
Alice, let us know what you have coming up in the near future. Maybe some goals or some ideas of some things that you want to do with the podcast or Native Time or things that are coming up here in the near future that we should be looking out for.
Yeah. Since the inception of Coffee and Quaq, I've always wanted to do a podcast episode about homelessness and the disproportionate rates of Alaska Native people experiencing homelessness. So that's definitely something I've been thinking about.
Hot topic right now.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think everybody has some kind of opinion or, some kind of thoughts about that. But I definitely want to feel like accessible and inclusive with that because the only reason that I've been kind of stalling on it is because the first time I visited a homeless camp, I was a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, put myself in danger and stuff like that. But I felt very much welcomed, so I didn't feel in danger. But, I mean, I understand that it's a sensitive topic, and I need to make it accessible to different audiences, too. So there was one woman that was willing to speak, but only in her native language, which I think was Inupiaq. And I'm not fluent. Yeah. And so, there's, these kinds of different things that I want to be aware of. But that was right before the pandemic hit. And so once the pandemic hit, I was just like, okay, we're not going to do that right now. But that's something I do want to revisit. I just posted an episode with Michelle Spark about Get Out the Native Vote, kind of explaining a little bit more about ranked choice voting, and then maybe some issues that Alaska Native people face today. Sorry, I'm getting a little slurry now. I'm on my I had a couple of drinks, and I don't know. I have and there's another one that I want to do. I've been speaking with somebody from the Heritage Center about boarding schools that I wanted to do. The thing is, like, I find myself, like, I don't want to always cover the heavy shit. Like,
I was just gonna say,
man. We've been so heavy this whole episode.
I'm a happy person. I'm literally a happy person, but I do feel like there's a lot of things that I want to bring attention to, and like bring awareness to in that sense. But like, fuck, man, I need happy shit too. So me and Jacqui, we've been talking about like our, Cocktails and Cock podcast. We've recorded 2 episodes, which have been really fun. And one was about sex and love, Inuit sex and love that people don't really talk about. And then the other one was about pain and pleasure. So like, there's those kinds of things that I'm kind of excited about.
How do you spell cock?
Qaaq.
Okay, just checking.
in Inupiaq spelling.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that's my fun stuff. I mean, there's all.
Well, it's a good way to balance out the heavy things that you want to hit and probably feel like a little pressure to hit. But I think the fun stuff is that's what's going to relate to your peers. It's going to relate to the younger audience. The heavy stuff's always there. The heavy stuff's always discussed, and there's almost never like a solution or an ending to that type of thing. But the fun stuff is...
It feels like it just like gravitates to heavy. Like we didn't intend to talk heavy, but just the topics are so like hard to avoid because for me... I'm like admittedly kind of ignorant to a lot of it.
Yeah,
even though I'm a lifelong Alaskan, so I just want to know, and it's more or less like to learn and know, and then like build from that, and then support it, and then be part of whatever the solution-based thought process is into, progressing and making it a positive thing. And man,
it's tough.
It is tough. I have a question for you because I admire the work that you've done in what is seemingly kind of a short period of time.
Thank you.
As far as like graduating college or making the shift from college.
She went to Mars and came back already.
Yeah, full launch. If you don't mind like providing a little advice or just a little shedding the light a little bit on career diversification, because you have like, you had an idea what you wanted to do and the career path you were going to make, and then you come back to Alaska, and then now you've fast forward to where you're at now. It feels like you're all about promotion of like being diversified in what you're doing and like your footprint. And so what's like, do you have like a little tidbit that you can share? Because it is inspiring to me what you're doing as far as having a broader, footprint on this media world.
Yeah, there's something that I like to share, there's this part of our culture in Inupiaq culture, like you can't be afraid of I call it the soak. And what I know soak to be is to be like the scolding.
Can you help me spell that one more time?
Suak.
Okay.
Soak.
Soak.
And that's Inupiaq, North Slope Inupiaq spelling. There's different dialects. But I feel like I was born to be soaked. I was born to be scolded. Like if your community isn't scolding you, they don't care about you. If they criticize you.
Or they're not listening, right? If they're listening, they're criticizing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. But like what I really expect from my elders is to tell me how to do it better. You know what I mean? Or not even just my elders, just people that care and want to help. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't come from a positive place. You can understand where or when that might happen. But sometimes you may not even understand that it does come from a positive place, but it's coming out negatively. And that
it goes into that deep part, right?
Yeah.
That, like...
It's almost...
God, it's such a line you have to...
Fuck, man. It just like you almost can't like... You almost tilt toward it every time.
I know. It's bad. I know. It's terrible. But I mean...
It's not terrible. It's just what it is,
Well, I think that you need to think that in 20 years you're the elder.
Yeah. And I feel that. I know as a woman who's 33, you know, I feel I'm 33 years old. I know where I am. I know where I am in my life. I know where, like I've been, and I know where I want to go. So like you can make that own decision for yourself, whether it's valid or not, whether it's coming from a good place or not. But if it's coming from your community, you have to take that into consideration. Sometimes it's bullshit. I know it has been for me in the past, but that's just because I was like maybe 20, maybe 21 when someone was like saying some dumb shit about, I don't know, ridiculous stuff. So you're smart enough to know what's good and bad judgment about like receiving scoldings, but I think that's something I take into heart, just because like once my community stops scolding me, that's when they don't care about me anymore. That's what I'm like. If they're not stalking me,
it's not really relevant anymore to them.
Yeah, you know, like I was thinking about, dang, I haven't been scolded in a while. I need to do something, you know, like
you need to do something a little edgy, get somebody fired up, huh? Get an auntie or uncle all pissed off at you for something.
Yeah, that, and I don't know if it's just like, I do a lot of crying, man. Like, it's so hard to fucking do something new and try to think that you can do it all the time. Like, there's always going to be like this moment of weakness where you're just like, fuck, man, I'm just trying, you know?
Yeah, it's vulnerability, right?
I break down a lot because I'm just like, I'm just fucking out here trying. And even one time I was scolded, by a Native woman, and she was like, "You're not telling my and this." Okay, so this is going to be really personal. I was doing some work in Nome regarding systemic issues around sexual assault and abuse against Native women, and one of the people that we were focusing on and interviewing, she was not happy with what we had presented to her about sharing her story, and it's hard. Number one, hard to do that work. Okay, so listening to those stories. And
well,
then,
like,
sensitive,
let me quickly shout out Anonymous Eskimo for doing that, because wow, Ralph. If you guys haven't heard his podcast, it's called Anonymous Eskimo. Ralph, what's his last name?
Sour.
All he does is stories of people that have gone deep into the waters of addiction and all that stuff, and their climb out of it. It is amazing. Oh, man. It's touching. You almost cry every podcast, and he's the perfect host for that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Ralph for doing that stuff. Yep. It's not like the thing you want to turn on Monday morning on the way to work. But there's times when you want to listen to that and feel inspired by these people's stories. It's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Important work. Difficult, but important work. Mm-hmm. And very much needed. And that's what I felt I was called to at that time. But, you know, it can be really hard. And the whole process is hard, especially even editing, right? So, like, I don't know what you guys do about editing, but I go through my podcast episodes at least fucking 5 times before, at least, you know, and I'm before publishing them. And so it's just like I have to listen to it, and then I have to take out, like, these dead spaces. And, like, you know, I try to make it, like, packaged in a way that's really good and something that people feel proud of and whatever. Anyway, so it was a lot of work. And then, you know, we had spent the whole weekend working on it, and there was like this feedback, and not just her, but like some, like her relatives, and like and then I felt even more weight on my shoulders because as an Inupiaq woman, I feel like I should have been aware or conscious of what they were talking and criticizing me about. And I was just like so done. I was like, maybe I'm not cut out to do this. Maybe I'm like, I can't. I shouldn't be telling this story. Yeah. You know, like if I can't even understand that it's problematic, then what am I doing this for? Like I'm part of the problem, like X, Y, and Z. You know, like I was going off. Ultimately, it made the work better, and it was a success that they felt comfortable enough to let us know that they were uncomfortable with what we had created. And I think that is a success in my opinion, because that's not always the case, you know, and it ultimately made the work better. So I appreciated that, and it's a hard pill to swallow, and it's hard work. That's part of the, you know, that comes with the territory.
Not only like the physical work, but the emotional, and like cultural. You're in that. Like, it's tough.
Yeah, it was probably Yeah, we can talk about it another time, but it was like one of the craziest things I've ever been through in Nome. And like, it was just like a huge, weird spiritual awakening that I had in Nome. And it was wild. Anyways, but that was one thing, you know? And so, I mean, it hasn't been easy to just fucking try things new and think that you can be good at it and like figure it out, because I question myself at every turn. Even now, like at AFN, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, am I contributing? Am I being a hassle? Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm literally just figuring it out as I go. And
well, that's great. That's how people learn. That's how people adjust. That's how people adapt. You have to throw yourself in these situations, and kudos to you for stepping up, because there is not a lot of people that are trying to do what you're trying to do. And being a young woman in a culture that is really based on a lot of tradition and a lot of heritage and a lot of old time shit, like, it's tough to be able to like walk that fine line and express your own opinions and your own values, and yet try to please your peers, your sister and her peers, and as well as your mom and your grandparents.
Yeah, and
like
elders.
That's a lot of pressure. So a lot of kudos for you for doing that. You're trying your best, and that's all that people should expect from you. And if someone else thinks that they didn't do it right, well, then they should step up and do it themselves, because you're doing what the best that you can do, and you are a light in your community, and you're exposing people to these topics that obviously are heavy. Some of them are rough, and you're also going on the other side and showing things that might be embarrassing to some of the elders and all that. I'm sure they don't appreciate some of the things that you do, and I'm sure you hear about it. But listen, that's you, and you're the person who you have to please, and I respect that 100%. And I am thankful that there's people like you. Thank you for coming on the show and being open about all these things and honest with us. And we hope you come back so that we can discuss other topics that maybe we know about, maybe we don't know about, so that we can start a conversation, because this is going to start a conversation. People that listen to this, and they're going to be like, wow, I didn't know about that. I should look into that. I disagree with that. I agree with this. Things
Opinions.
like that.
Yeah.
that's our purpose as podcasters. So, you know, we're not here to validate people. We're not here to agree or disagree with people. We're just here to provide something, whether they agree with it or not, so that it generates conversation, right? It opens conversation to bring forward new ideas or solidify the good ones. I think that's my purpose as a podcaster.
Yep.
And I feel like
that.
that's your guys'.
Yeah,
you know.
you don't have all the answers.
No.
None of us do.
No.
It's the conversation that's important. And if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing. So like, don't let that hard shit. The hard shit is why you're doing it.
Oh yeah.
You win or you learn.
No, the
That's
thing
it.
is, like, I leave with more questions most of the time.
Yeah.
And that's okay
I can
with
see
me.
that.
That's a hunger.
I'm not mad about it.
That's why you're doing it.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's like, you use the word, I'm just trying. I'm like, fuck that. You're not trying anything.
doing
You're
it.
actually doing it.
Yeah. No, you're doing it.
So I want you to like, remember that, like, what you're doing is you're not trying anything. You're doing the thing. And then the reaction, whatever it is, the comments, the backlash, the positive reinforcement, whatever it is a byproduct of what you're doing in terms of a positive impact in the overall outcome of what it is that you're actually here doing it for.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Like, she's not trying shit. She's actually doing something.
You said yourself that you're in this for the scolding.
I mean, yes.
So if that's not
Yeah, you
there,
kinda put
so if you
yourself
don't,
on
if you
there
don't
to get
have
whipped
that
on.
there,
Yeah.
then you're not touching the subjects.
Well, that's
that
how you know you're
need
doing
the
the right thing.
conversation.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
And if no one's responding, good or bad or indifferent,
Yeah.
then no one's listening. But
That's
if they
bullshit.
are doing it,
Yeah.
clearly you're getting through.
No, I appreciate, even when people like disagree, like they're like so mad or like gung ho against it. I'm like, okay, well,
Well, you can't. Well, what if
That's-
it just
go
that's
off,
totally-
Karen.
that's
Alice, what if everybody just agreed with you? What if everybody agreed with you? You would just be like,
It would be boring
and they
as
would be
fuck.
like, oh yeah, and you'd be like, well, what next? I mean,
Just be
fuck.
it.
If everybody agrees with you, what's fun? Where's the fun in that?
Also, like my really good friend Melissa Shaganoff, who's on episode 5, Art and Cultural Appropriation. She was like, well, you're ultimately consenting to learn in public.
Yeah.
This is what a podcast is. It's
100%.
Consenting to learn in public.
Holy shit.
And that's so
That's a good one.
Yeah, she's amazing. Oh my God.
Write that shit
you
down.
You guys got to have Melissa Shaganoff on.
We will.
She's
We will.
dope as fuck.
We will.
And Jacqui. Yeah.
Alice, thanks for coming in. Thanks for giving us a whole bunch of your time. We appreciate everything you're doing. Anyone listening, coffeeandquaq.com, Coffee and Quaq on Instagram. That's Coffee and QUAQ on Instagram. Check it out. If you have a chance to visit any of the AFN things that are coming on or support any of the programs that are going on, give it a listen. Give us your input. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, Alice, for coming. We appreciate you. We're going to have you back on and bring your friend. And we will continue these topics that I think people are highly interested in. Yeah. And we highly appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you for
just
having me.
kind of scraped the
surface.
the top. Yeah.
We're just getting to know one
good.
another, right?
That's
right.
And
you know, just piggybacking off Danny, thanks for coming in. Because as we created our podcast in the platform that we're on, in the whole Alaska cultural dynamic, one of the huge, like when we just went to King Street Brewery one day and we just sat there with a notebook and beer after beer after beer, and we just wrote down ideas. And what we kept gravitating to was Alaskan Native culture, and that was like one of the most important things. And we've been dying to like finally broach the topic.
Yeah.
And thanks to you for coming in, for your time and the work you've done. You've helped us start to scratch that itch a little bit. So
no, I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity for you guys making space for that. You know, that doesn't always happen. So I really do appreciate that 100%, bringing on Alaskan.
It's a passion,
voices.
Alice. I mean, it is something that is very, very, very important to us.
That's great.
So thank you.
And I appreciate it. So I'm here for it, and I'll be back if you ever want me back.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to meet my friends, because I think that, like, you know, I do think that we have a lot of commonalities in the way that we view life and love Alaska. And that's important to me. And I feel like it's important to you guys too. So, amazing. Thank you.
You too, Chad. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Yep. Yeah, dude, I'm
it was a great conversation, man.
Super
this was fun.
Very enlightening.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Alaska, thank you for listening. Stay dope. Stay wild.
You'll remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
The Alaska Wild Project podcast is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Barney's Sports Chalet, supplying hunters with the best hand-selected gear since 1963. The exclusive home of frontier gear built for the rugged Alaskan terrain. Your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Visit Barney's today at 906 West Northern Lights.
Arbor Digital, the forefront of digital assets, cryptocurrencies, and wealth management, providing a low-cost, research-based investment strategy for Alaskans looking to invest their hard-earned money. Visit arborcapital.io today to put your money to work.
Tailored Restoration 24-hour emergency home services, helping Alaskans restore their dreams since 1972. Services include fire, water, mold, post-emergency cleaning, repair, and remodeling. Give them a call in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, or Fairbanks. Hit them up at tailoredrestorationalaska.com.
Total Truck and Alaska Overlander, Alaska's premier supplier for custom automotive accessories and overlanding products, providing all-inclusive rental vehicles and trailers custom outfitted to explore the Alaskan backcountry with a unique and convenient traveling experience.
Serrano's Mexican Grill, 2 locations, one on Tudor, one on Northern Lights. The Northern Lights location has their new tequila bar. Check it out. Also see their daily specials at serranosmexicangrill.com.
TheTreehouseAK.com, located at 341 Boniface Parkway, Alaska's own and grown cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bud tender what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off. The Treehouse, where the culture lives.
The Connoisseur Lounge, Alaska's premier locally owned and operated cannabis retailer, located in the heart of Palmer, Alaska. Their cultivated products include Snowcap Romance, Aurora Haze, super glue, and much more. Find them at theconnoisseurlounge.net.
AKO Farms, located in Sitka, Alaska, built from the ground up with concentrates as their single motivation, with exclusive products such as their sugar wax, full-spectrum diamond sauce carts, and more. Ask your local bud tender about AKO. Marijuana has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming and addictive. Marijuana impairs concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. There are health risks associated with consumption of marijuana. For the use of only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children, and marijuana should not be used by women who are pregnant or breastfeeding.
The Bait Shack, located on Ship Creek upstream of the bridge. Can't miss the bright red shack. They are the go-to fishing gear rental and guide service on Ship Creek. Tight lines and fish on. Come hook into the action with them. Hit them up at thebaitshackak.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located on 4th Avenue across from the old 4th Avenue Theater. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. From reindeer dogs to bomb euros, they've got you covered. Anchortown Dogs, your local gourmet hot dog and sausage cart.
Crude Magazine, Alaska-based media outlet using the last frontier as a springboard to discover larger truths about the cultures of our great state. Read more at crudemag.com.
Lawn Pro AK, Alaska's year-round professional property maintenance team. Services include snow and ice management, weekly lawn care, and more. Get your free estimate today at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted Alaskan-made colonial ciders. They also have a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Stop by today and taste an award-winning cider.
Lady with a Plan, your own Alaska event planner. From scouting the perfect location to planning the tiniest details, specializing in event management and production for intimate social gatherings. Find Lady with a Plan on Instagram.
Should you not claim to be at least his equal in prowess and act upon the claim? I say try. If we never try, we shall never succeed. This proposition is a simple truth, and it's too important to be lost sight of for a moment. If we cannot beat the enemy where he now is, we never can. It is all easy if our troops march as well as the enemy, and it is unmanly to say they cannot do it.